chapter. Reading the Bible here begun. Followers join in morning sun. Twitch lighten up with holy words. Every verse so deeply heard, guiding us with sacred text. Journey's long, but we're all blessed. Everybody in here blessed. Everybody in here blessed. Everybody in here blessed. Everybody in here blessed. Chats alive with praise and hope. Together we find ways to cope. Dapper style with faith so true. Pastor leads us, see it through. Morning coffee, Bible in hand, spreading love across the land. Saxophone melodies play slow. In this digital pew we grow. Everybody in here blessed. Everybody in here blessed. Everybody in here blessed. Everybody in here blessed. Chats alive with praise and hope. Together we find ways to cope. Dapper style with faith so true. Pastor leads us, see it through. I'm blessed. Everybody in here blessed. Everybody in here blessed. Everybody in here blessed. Everybody in here blessed.
Hamster in a flat cap so dapper, streaming live with a heartfelt chapter. Reading the Bible here begun. Followers join in morning sun. Twitch lighten up with holy words. Every verse so deeply heard, guiding us with sacred text. Journey's long, but we're all blessed. Everybody in here blessed. I'm 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 blessed. Chats alive with praise and hope. Together we find ways to cope. Dapper style with faith so true. Pastor leads us, see it through. Morning coffee, Bible in hand, spreading love across the land. Saxophone melodies play slow. In this digital pew we grow. Everybody in here blessed. I'm blessed. 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 Morning coffee, Bible in hand, spreading love across the land. Saxophone melodies play.
Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Sporting the DC 4C today. Isn't that awesome? Isn't that awesome? Hey! Tip of the cap, Galaxy. Tip of the cap. And a spot of tea. We've got Earl Grey today. Earl Grey today. So it is a rainy day. Rainy day in my neck of the woods. We've had a lot of rain recently, which is not the time of year that we get rain. April showers bring May flowers, not July showers. But we've had June showers, we've got July showers. I'm trying to think. It rained on Tuesday into Wednesday, and now it is raining today, and it'll rain again tonight. We don't. Rain is not the normal forecast for July, but so I wanted to try to get out on my bike more. I might be able to this afternoon. I think it's supposed to clear up by 1 o'clock. I might be able to sneak out on a bike ride today. We'll see how that goes. My wife went for a ride yesterday while I was down at the Artisan Market. She got a 50-mile bike ride in. Now, that's a decent ride. I think that's a decent ride. I like doing a 50-mile ride. She has an electric bike, and what she was complaining about is she ran her battery out, so she had to finish the bike, the ride, not under any power, but under her own power, which I just laughed. Haha. Galaxy, calling for storms later, and you're hoping I can get it since here it's bone dry. Oh, you're in the opposite end where it's dry. I'm in the wet, which is nice because I haven't been watering my lawn. I got a couple of sprinkler heads need repaired, so I only have like 3 zones on to water some new plants, and that's it. That's it. Okay, Cockroach, Morning Pastor and Chad. Welcome in. Good to see you, friend. Glad to have you here. Glad to have you here. Hope you had a wonderful holiday yesterday if you were doing something and celebrating. I got done streaming and I went down to the Artisan Market, and we had a good turnout for people walking through. The stand next to me is doing this paint a rock thing. So you can paint a rock and add it to like a snake rock. So they're trying to see if they can snake this rock all the way around the Artisan Market with everybody coloring it or painting a rock and then setting it down and going all the way around. So I did notice that was pretty effective in keeping people down there for a while instead of people just running straight through and going, oh, I see this, and on their way. So that was nice. You can absolutely jump into a question anytime, friend, whether biblical or otherwise. Just show you where we are at Bible-wise while you're typing. Oh, I gotta get that up. What are your thoughts on people who title themselves as apostles today? There are different ways in which people use that title. So I'm not avoiding your question. It depends on how they are using those titles. For instance, there are a number of people who use I'm trying to think if it's Ephesians passage, where it's some as apostles, some as prophets, some as teachers, some evangelists, some as shepherds. And they use APEST is what that's called. And so they are taking a test, a survey to identify their makeup of how they do things, and then referring to them as having an apostolic calling or an apostolic gift, and they might refer to them or other people as being an apostle. That's not quite the same, I think, as what you're talking about with people who have apostle as a title, and they treat people with the title of apostle as authoritative, and you can't question what they have to say. If you're talking the second extreme, and these are both the extreme ends, the end of this is beneficial for the body to help understand who you are and how you're made up. Very simplistic, and yeah. Yeah, instead of Pastor Bob, Apostle Bob. Yeah, like I said, it still makes a difference of how they treat the person who has the title apostle. So if you're just treating them like a leader in the church, and you're just saying apostle instead of pastor, which some denominations do, then I'm hey Supersonic Mockingjay, welcome in. If it's just that, like any pastor is just called an apostle instead, that's okay. But there is a vein that calls someone an apostle, and whatever they say is pretty darn close to equivalent to being scripture alone, and you can't question it. When it gets to that level, then I think it's problematic. So that's why I'm trying to make a distinction. Not everyone that uses the term apostle uses it the same way. But if it is that last way of doing it where Apostle Bob is the authority and you can't question Pastor or Apostle Bob, and Apostle Bob has spoken, and Apostle Bob has said everyone must wear flat caps, and therefore, even though it's not in the Bible, Apostle Bob has said it, and everybody better run out and get one, and you can't question Apostle Bob, then it's a problem. But I don't know if it's about the title apostle, because you can do that with bishops, you can do that with pastor, you can do that with other titles too. So hope that makes sense. Or if you have more of an example of where you had questions about it, go ahead and add more. Because like I said, I'm trying to remember the group, and I am not a let's tear down groups within the body of Christ. I'm not in those groups. I don't have a voice, I believe, to speak to them. But there is a movement, and I can't remember what it's called, worldwide, where they do call people apostles specifically, and they do go in that direction of what I was talking about. Yeah, I understand that. Okay, Cockroach. Yeah, that has been a. If you look at, well, let's just go look at it a second. Some as apostles. So we'll just look at this before we get started. So Ephesians 4:11, and he himself gave some as apostles, some as prophets, some as evangelists, some as pastors and teachers. And well, there's another passage too. Let me find that. Let me look this up in the Greek a minute, just to look at what the Greek word is. I knew it was in Ephesians, I just couldn't remember what verse. Okay. And some churches do teach you don't call anyone an apostle, but I'll come back to that in a second. Let's look at what the word means. Apostolos. A delegate, a messenger, one sent forth with orders. So, an apostle is simply someone sent with orders. So we talk about the 12 disciples. We also call them the 12 apostles. Paul was also called an apostle. Several others in the New Testament are called apostles. And some churches have taken to not calling anyone who was not an eyewitness to Jesus to be called an apostle. And the reason for that is going to be over here in the book of Acts. I want to say Acts 2. Let me just look. No. Sorry, it's Acts 1. It's Acts 1. It's before Acts 2. It's right at the end of Acts 1. It's where they replace Judas. Where does it say? Okay. Peter stood up among the believers, verse 15 here. In those days, Peter stood up among the believers. You know what? Let me pull this. Oh, no. This is the other one. That's why it's not. The scripture had to be fulfilled that foretold about Judas. Now this man Judas, so I'm just skipping the part where he's explaining the scripture. Okay, thus one of the men who accompanied us during all this time, the Lord Jesus associated with us, beginning with his baptism until the day of John, was taken from us. One of these must become a witness to the One of these must become a witness to the resurrection together with us. So they proposed two candidates. Okay, here's where it is. Show us which one of these two you have chosen to assume the task of this service and apostleship from which Judas turned aside and was taken to his place. So they cast lots, and it went to Matthias, and he was counted among the 11 apostles. So that would be the reason why some do not use the term apostle and think it was only reserved for the 12 and no more. But there's another passage that we can go to expand this conversation even further. And this should be in Matthew. Oh, I spelled that awfully wrong. Haha. Okay, so let's do this whole in context here. But you are not to be called rabbi, for you have one teacher, and that's what rabbi means. And you are all brothers. You don't call no one father on earth, for you have one Father who is in heaven. Nor are you to be called teacher, for you have one teacher, the Christ. So we have a whole bunch of things here to not be called. We have, hey, there are apostles. So when I think some people use the word apostle or apostolic, they're not using it in the term of one of the chosen 12. Some are trying to make it equivalent with that. So I think it depends on how you use it. And I know that some have taught you don't do it, but we have other prohibitions of call no one teacher, call no one brother, so I want to say your motivation behind how you're doing it and why you're doing it is more important than what you're calling things. Sorry, I know some of you came in here while I was chatting. So, Joseph, Man 4K, good afternoon. Good afternoon. And Johnny Darko, happy 5th. Happy 5th. Hap, welcome in. When I think of modern day apostles, I think of those who claim to have new or updated revelation, which can cause problems. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about, is there are some who do believe that they have new revelation. Not that that can't happen, but one of the things that a group in particular that I know of does do with apostles is apostles and or prophets, depending on which term they are using, because some will use prophets and some will use apostles. When they say things and they're wrong, they're fine with apostles and prophets teaching and saying things that are wrong, and you can't question them. No, they're just learning how to get good at doing it. There's no example of scripture of people giving, and prophecy is the word of God, not just predictive. Well, there is no example of, oh, I got it wrong once, and I thought it was the word of God, and that's okay, because I'm learning how to hear the word of God. There is no example of that in scripture. So if you're claiming to have a level of authority like that, you're supposed to test it, is what we're told, to test the spirits in both the Old and the New Testament and see if it's valid and true. So if you're showing me that you can get it wrong and still be in that level of authoritative, I don't know that I think that's correct. Johnny Darko, people often mix up the term apostle and disciple. We were just looking up apostle, and it was, dun, 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 a delegate, a messenger. So in a simple terms, an apostle is just a messenger, someone who is sent. So if we are using it in that terminology, as opposed to an elevated status of office, it's a little bit different. I'm watching you people, and I know I'm behind on chat. So a disciple is a follower of Christ in general. An apostle is more like an OG. Some treat it that way. Some do not. And some treat disciple as different as well. Hey, Lucis, welcome in. Hap, throw in the Deuteronomy. Yeah, when a prophet speaketh in the name of the Lord, if, if the thing followed not nor come to pass, that is the thing the Lord hath not spoken, but the prophet hath spoken it presumptuously, thou shalt not be afraid of him. So yeah, this is talking about false prophets. I don't think we have a thing, because apostles New Testament only. And so we don't have the idea necessarily of false apostles. But the apostles are elevated among the disciples. And having been, most of them, directly connected with Jesus, there are many traditions who believe that no one should bear that title since no one has directly seen Jesus. However, I want to question that. Because remember, when and how did Paul see Jesus? He saw him in an encounter on the road to Damascus. Paul saw Jesus in a spiritual encounter on the road to Damascus. And as I understand it, there are countries, specifically Muslim countries, where people have dreams and visions and encounters with the risen Jesus. So then we would, by that definition of how Paul becomes an apostle, be able to identify and call them apostles. I do not have anything that I think would be equivalent of that same level of encounter with a voice, with light, with any of those things, with an image that would say, hey, I am Jesus and I'm talking to you. I've never had that. I do absolutely believe I have had conversations with the Holy Spirit. Not audible voices, but definite thoughts in my head and messages from God. So, I'm watching. I've never seen Jesus, but I felt him and I've heard him. He's definitely real. Yeah, and that's why I'm making an intentional distinction there, because I think Paul on the road to Damascus did more than sense and feel that Jesus was there and real. The people who were with him didn't hear the same thing he did. It just kind of sounded, I can't remember if it was thunder is what the sound was, but they heard something and they realized Paul was seeing something. So that's what I'm saying is, if you go by what happened to Paul, I think there are people today who've had things I would say are equivalent. I have not. Therefore, I should not call myself an apostle. But like I said, if you're going from do you have the gift of apostleship, if you're going to Ephesians and God gave some as apostles, some as prophets, well, then you have to also talk about our prophets around today. And if we put aside the common notion that a prophet only is a predictor of the future, and we just understand that a prophet is someone who is declaring the truth of God, that maybe people don't want to hear, and they are most concerned with saying the thing to people who need to hear it. We do have prophets today. We do have prophets. And also sometimes when prophets show up in the Old Testament, they're singing. So, hey, Trigger Boss, welcome in. Hap. Is the same Greek word used in Ephesus passage as it is referring to the 12? Well, let's go back to the 12 here. So I'll scroll down and we'll see where the apostle is used. Now, these are the names of the 12 apostles. So, yes, it is. It's the same. It is the same one used in Ephesians there. Here's all the places that word is used. It's that common throughout the New Testament. Okay. Paul, an apostle of Jesus Christ, and are built on the foundation of the apostles and the prophets. The holy apostles and the prophets and the Spirit. And he gave some as apostles, and some as prophets, and some as evangelists, and some as pastors and teachers. Now some do take this last thing, pastor and teacher, to be a single office, and some separate that in two, and some don't like the word pastor in here, and so they I think it's translated as shepherd in other translations, and that is more of a caring role than a teaching role. And so some see those two as together in one person, and others see those as separate. Hey, RCN, the real issue to me is that far too many Christians don't find their identity in Christ and Christ alone. They find their identity in their title and therefore want to be called perhaps more than what they should be. That can happen in a lot of places, in a lot of ways. Yeah, absolutely. Even if what you want to be called is brother or sister, that you are getting your identity in that. We often get our identity in also our occupations. For instance, let me just ask you this. When you introduce yourself, this is pretty common in Western society. The second thing you say is, my name is so-and-so, and this is what I do. So if you're a streamer, is that one of the things you introduce yourself as? Hi, I'm a streamer. Or if you're a parent, hi, I'm married and I have 3 kids. Like, just think about that for a minute. How you introduce yourself is something you're doing often to elevate some status about you. If you notice my name, I have pastor in the title. The reason I have pastor in the title is simply so that people do know and have an understanding if they come in that I do have an education and I am ordained. Now, putting pastor on there, pastor can be used as a lower title. I could use a higher title because I am a reverend. But a reverend is not, like, people don't go around in normal circles and say, the Reverend Flatcap Dapper. That'd be pretty funny, honestly. And then, now you know the other half of why the Dapper is in there. I mean, the flat cap is in there because, like, man, I just get identified with the hat, so it's easy to put it in there. But the Dapper part is really just to kind of go, yeah, I'm not taking myself seriously, okay? I'm not worried about titles. I'm really not worried about appearance, okay? I mean, like, I show up half-shaved some days. Most days. And, it's all good. It's all good. I even, like, look, there's stuff, like, there's a box right here, you know? And if I move out of the way, I picked it, oh no, it's the other way. If I move out of the way, you can see Sock Monkey laying on the ground. It's life. It's life. I don't try to take myself too seriously. I do know people with titles. I do also think it's funny. There are a couple of public officials who have honorary doctorates. Now, if you understand what an honorary doctorate is, it means you did not go to school, you did not earn this, and they want to be called doctor. The other thing is we usually only call people that have a doctorate doctor if they're a medical doctor. We don't usually go around and calling someone a doctor who's a doctor of philosophy or a doctor of ministry. Now, I do know some churches who pastors want to be called the Reverend Doctor so-and-so. So yeah, absolutely. There are some people that take any title that they can get, and let's make that a little bigger. How about I let everyone know in here that affiliate here. I'm not a partner, not yet, but I'm affiliate. I'm a 2-year affiliate. I'm a 3-year affiliate here on Twitch, my friends. I have no idea how long it's been. And I don't have any problem celebrating those things. Like, oh, it's my 2-year, 3-year affiliate anniversary. Those are fun. But if every time you come into my stream, I make sure you know I'm a partner or I'm an affiliate or I'm whatever status, you know. They take a title and run. Some people do. So we got off track on the apostle thing. I hope I answered your question. And, you know, so like I said, some people believe that you don't use the title apostle, okay, Cockroach, because it was reserved for only the 12 or others who were mentioned in the New Testament and needed to be witnesses with Jesus. And I'm okay with that use. If you believe that way, I'm fine with that. If you believe that Ephesians is talking about the giftedness of people within the church, and I am going to recognize your giftedness, not in title, but talking about, hey, who has apostolic strengths within our church that needs to use those strengths, and who has prophet strengths, who has evangelist strengths. We do use evangelist all the time, it seems like. Oh, evangelist so-and-so, or somebody is an evangelist, or they're evangelistic. We use evangelist pretty openly. And pastor or teacher we do as well. So those three we use. Often the first two we don't use as much in most traditions. Some do the prophets, some do the apostles, and some will use them as titles. I'm only concerned when you use those titles and you elevate the apostle and the prophet above the evangelist, above the shepherd, above the teacher, when they're supreme and they're infallible. I'm sorry, there is nobody infallible. If you hadn't noticed, I probably said things on stream that were not 100% correct, either by ignorance, or by misspeaking, or by emphasizing something over something else. I don't intentionally ever try to do something and say something that I would not believe to be true. I'm not saying something because, well, I have to say it, and I don't believe that. That I'm not doing. So, all right. Let's get into some more word today. Thanks for the question. Appreciate it. That was a great conversation. So anyone else want to follow up on it, you're welcome to. If you didn't come in and notice when I jumped on, I did say I got a rainy day outside. So let me just look at the pond for a minute, which is interesting. So right here in the center of this is the the intake pipe that's going to the pump. And all the fish were circled around it like a flower, which was interesting. But you can see that this is all nice and wet outside here. And I got my rocks all up, and I'm debating whether or not to move the camera to another angle, if that would be good. I'm not sure. Haven't decided on that. There's Waiwas in the back. I need to set up, and the water's getting better here after no power last week on the guppies. The koi, baby koi is nice and clean. They're doing good. And the sunrise looks like it's going to be hidden behind the rocks today. Or not rocks. Hidden behind the sun. Why am I saying rocks? See, I just misspoke. Okay. So we are in 1 Kings 10. We're going to try to get caught up in Kings. If we can. How many fish do you have? Supersonic Mockingjay. I could have told you how many fish were in the pond outside. The guppy tank, I have not counted. I have no idea how many guppies there are. The problem with when you get past a certain number and they move, it's hard to know. And the baby koi over here, like, let me just go big screen for a minute so you can see better. Like, I can't count those fish. They're all moving. They're all moving all over the place. The same with the guppies over here. I can't count them. But, let's see. I did have 16 fish, and I lost 4 of them. So that would leave me with a dozen of the big ones. And the ones that I put out there from August, there was 18, and I lost 3 of those, so that'd make 15. So there are 27-ish fish out in the pond. That part pretty close on. There was over 30. Now there's under 30. I lost some fish last week with the power outage. I had no power for 60 hours. With the waterfall not working, the oxygen level elevated, the water temperature elevated, and like it's going to sound weird, but a few fish suffocated. They suffocated. They basically drowned for lack of oxygen in the water. So, unfortunately, which really makes me it made me decide I need to get a backup generator, and I don't want to do the whole home one. The cost is really great, but I think I'm going to do one so that we can get our computers up and running if we need to, our phones backed up, and the pond. So, just gonna buy a small one, I think. I'm gonna be looking for 4th of July or Prime Day deals. I should have looked for 4th of July. You know, maybe I should still do that. Maybe I should still see if somebody's got a 4th of July deal still going over the weekend on a generator. But that's as best as I can give you. Like, I can't count all these, you know? Maybe if I took a snapshot photo and then tried to count them, it would work. That'd be the only way I think I could count them. Or if I took them all out of there one at a time, then I might be able to. Okay. Interesting question. Like it. So we've been reading through Solomon in 1 Kings. So Solomon becomes king after David. Solomon has peace with people around him. Solomon had to consolidate his power from his brother. And then Solomon took care of things that his father David told him he needed to, including building the temple. While he built the temple, he also built his palace. Took 7 years for the temple, 13 for his palace. And his palace was significantly larger than the temple. More than twice as big as the temple. So, okay, now we're going to continue. When the Queen of Sheba heard about Solomon, she came to challenge him with difficult questions. Okay. The report about Solomon, the Hebrew text has also to the name of the Lord, which is very awkward due to the unusual syntax. The phrase is omitted in the parallel passage in 2 Chronicles 9:1. The word report is followed with a preposition lamed in and indicated whom the message came to. And otherwise, the collective of Shem, Lemed Shem, to the name does not follow. Okay, so this is, yeah, okay. I wondered if it was going to say something about Sheba. That's what I wanted to go look at. So, 1 Kings 10. I want to go look at the actual word here. Sheba.
Strong's H7614. Sheva.
So,
Sheva.
7 or an oath. The queen of 7 or the queen of an oath. And here's all the usage of it. So it's one of the sons of Cush. Another son. We have the queen of here. So here's the thing. Pay attention to clues in the text as to where she might be from. I know maybe what you've heard traditionally is she must have been from Ethiopia. But if we take into account what we were just reading in the previous section here, where he is sending and building ships here on the seashore of the Red Sea, and I'd have to go look that up. Let's just do that. What that says for Red Sea. Is that the Sea of Reeds? Is that some other name? What verse were we in? That's gotta be at the end. Da, 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 da. 26. There we go. And Solomon gathered together chariots, horsemen, and he had 1,400 chariots, bestowed cities and chariots with the king of Jerusalem. Why? Am I in the wrong chapter? Oh, I need 926. That'll do it. That'll do it. Sup yam. Sup yam. Suf. Reed, rush, water plant. So this could be still Sea of Reeds. Sea of Reeds. It still could be. Okay. She must have been a smart, educated woman to feel she could check out how wise Solomon was. Oh, yeah. Interesting. Yeah, way to think that. Anyway, let's look at a map here real quick here. We'll just put Red Sea in. That'll be the easiest way to pull this up. Okay. So here's part of what this is. So we hear Red Sea, okay? Now it says Sea of Reeds in the Hebrew. Does that mean this body of water here, all the way from top to bottom? Does that mean up here? And if it's used for crossing the Sea of Reeds, is that further north? Is that further south with Moses? Later, is it this larger body? Is this whole thing called that? But here's the other thing. So some think that she would have been down here from the head of the Nile down here to Ethiopia, which could still be from the Sea of Reeds, okay, or the Red Sea down here. But there's also the thought that these ships could have been going to Yemen here and Oman, I think specifically Yemen. So she could have been from the Arabian Peninsula. So even the clues in the text can go to this side of the sea, or they can go to this side of the sea. So that's all I wanted to kind of point out there is you may hear, oh, she had to be this. Well, the text, we're using old language, and it migrated meaning over time. Words do that. So can we specifically know where Sheba is? We're relying on other people to have helped us understand where Sheba is. And they may have had something in mind that might not have been 100% correct. Just like Ur of the Chaldeans, we often there will find along the Euphrates River and a town named Ur and say that must be Ur of the Chaldeans. And the Babylonians are referred to as the Chaldeans. But if we go back to the time of Abraham and where the Chaldeans come from, they're north in mountains. They're not down in the Euphrates. So that's what I mean. You have to go do some rabbit trail stuff and figure out where things are at sometimes. So if you hear, most of this is just to say, when you hear people that have a different opinion about Scripture, and they say, no, I think the Queen of Sheba is from the Arabian Peninsula, not from Ethiopia, it's valid for someone to hold a different position than you, and maybe you disagree with them, and it's okay. It's okay. They are trying to approach Scripture on its own terms from where it's coming from and what it has to say. Hey, Artsy Bible Nerd, welcome in, friend. I did answer you back on your question about doing the alpha. If you'd like to chat more, let me know. But if you want to do it, you can fill out some info. There's a place to fill out on ReachConF. If you just like to do it on your own and not connected with that, I can share the drive with you, or maybe I can't, but I can get the videos to you that are all the stuff. You figured it out? Okay. If you'd like to do it together or something too, let me know. I'll be playing around with getting a hold of Romans. Do you know Romans? I can't remember if it's 9v10 or 10v9. I think it's 10v9. Do you know Romans 10v9? He's the one heading up all that stuff. So I can chat with him as well or introduce you. So, okay. We've made it all the way through a verse today, ladies and gentlemen. Wait, we didn't make it through the whole verse. Oh, yeah, we did. She came and asked him difficult questions. Okay. Get back to me. That's fine. Okay. And I'll decide by the end of the day if I'm doing Alpha the next 2 weeks, Monday through Friday, and Monday through Friday during my regular scheduled time at 9 o'clock would be the plan. So we'd get back from whatever break that we would have. Oh, yeah, we'd be fine if we start at the top of the hour. But we wouldn't go over to Discord. I'd just keep chatting about what's going on. I might pause the video as we go along and interact with it. I think I want to do it that way more than just sit and watch the whole thing. That's what I'm thinking if we do it again in the next couple weeks. So, okay. She arrived in Jerusalem with a great display of pomp, bringing with her camels carrying spices, a very large quantity of gold and precious gems. She visited Solomon and discussed with him everything that was on her mind. Solomon answered all her questions. There was no question too complex for the king. When the queen of Sheba saw for herself Solomon's extensive wisdom, the palace he had built, the food in his banquet hall, his servants and his attendants, their robes, his cupbearers, and his burnt offerings, which he presented to the Lord's temple, she was amazed. So look at the list of things. There was no breath in her. Like she was speechless. Oh, she was in awe. Awestruck. But notice so his palace has to be, so he has to be 20 years plus into his rule. Wait a minute. No, he starts the construction in year 4 of his rule because he had to get all the supplies. It says he started construction in year 4. The palace is finished 20 years later if they were not built consecutive or concurrently, but they were built consecutively. It would be year 24 of his reign. So I don't know how young he is, how old he is when he begins to reign, but it's sometime later. It's sometime later. Okay. Just wanting to clear up all of there's got to be minimum 17 years later. If it's 4 and 13, yeah, that's 17 years later. So minimum 17 years into his reign. She said to the king, the report I heard in my own country about your wise sayings and insights was true. I had not believed these things until I came and saw them with my own eyes. Indeed, I didn't hear even half the story. Your wisdom and wealth surpasses what was reported to me. Your attendants who stand before you at all times and hear your wise sayings are truly happy. Okay, that is just not a translation I would use. How happy are your men? How happy are the servants of yours who stand before you in wisdom? Okay, what's the Hebrew there? 8. Verse 8. Come on. Maybe an Acer. Asher.
Strong's H 835. Esher.
Asher.
Esher.
See, blessed is the direction I would prefer to go with that. Blessed are they. It's using the more contemporary happy, but I did not expect that the King James was using happy. So, the King James used happy as well. Interesting. It felt weird to my ears to say how happy they're truly happy. I care nothing about happiness. I'm sorry. Happiness is a feeling. Being blessed is what is around you and a perspective on things. So I just think it's different. There we go with my bias. So, okay. May the Lord your God be praised because he favored you by placing you on the throne of Israel. Because of the Lord's eternal love for Israel, he made you king so you could make just and right decisions. She gave the king 120 talents of gold and very large quantities of spices and precious gems. The quantity of spices the Queen of Sheba gave King Solomon has never been matched. Hiram's fleet, which carried gold from Ophir, also brought from Ophir a very large quantity of timber and precious gems. See, this is where we have Ophir, and it's like, where is Ophir, as well as where is Sheba? And so if it's Yemen and Omar, these are connected with each other. Or it could be Ethiopia and Yemen. They're opposite sides of the Red Sea. Perhaps. A large quantity of fine timber and precious gems. With the timber, the king made supports for the Lord's temple and for the royal palace. The stringed instruments for the musician. No one has seen so much of this fine timber to this very day. King Solomon gave the Queen of Sheba everything she requested, besides what he had freely offered her. Then she left and returned to her homeland with her attendants. Okay. If you're following the line that this is the Queen of Ethiopia, then you have other extra biblical things where what she requested and what he freely offered her was a child. I don't know if you've heard that, but that is one of the speculations that is out there, that what the king gave her was a child. She went back, and that child was part of the whole lineage and whatnot in Ethiopia. But this is an interesting practice that just seems like it's foreign dignitaries showing off towards each other and blessing each other back and forth. Yeah. If you've never heard that, there's a whole line of tradition in the Ethiopian church in regards to Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. And while I heard of it, I couldn't do justice to explaining all of the stuff there. But yeah, everything she requested, well, part of the everything. And I think there might be another book that talks about that too. I can't remember if that's a pseudepigrapha or in the Apocrypha that might refer something to that too. I might be wrong. It might just be only within the Ethiopian church, the Coptic church. Okay. Solomon received 666 talents. The term kikar refers generally to something that is round. When used of metal, it can refer to disc-shaped weights made of metal or a standard unit of measurement, generally regarded as a talent. Since the accepted weight of a talent and metal is about 75 pounds, this would amount to 50,000 pounds of gold. Wow. Others use 25 tons instead of 25,000 pounds. So, but notice the number 666 talents. Isn't that odd? Is that odd to anybody? Besides what he collected from the merchants, traders, Arabian kings, and the governors of the land, King Solomon made 200 large shields, hammered gold. 600 measures of gold were used for each shield. He also made 300 small shields of hammered gold. 3 minas of gold were used for each of these shields. The king placed them in the palace of the Lebanon forest. Okay, the Palace of Lebanon Forest. This name was appropriate because of the large amount of cedars undoubtedly brought from Lebanon used in the construction. Okay, so he's referring to the name of the palace as the Lebanon Forest because it's made with all the forest of Lebanon. Okay. The king made a large throne decorated with ivory and overlaid with pure gold. Okay, here's another hint in that Sheba could be Ethiopia. We just had the encounter with Sheba, and now ivory is mentioned. Ivory is going to come out of Africa, not out of the Arabian Peninsula. Oh, except out of the Arabian Peninsula would be traders. They're on the sea. They are traders. They're seafarers. So they could have still been the ones who brought it, even if they weren't in Africa, but in Arabia. So you could point one way, but then you could pull it back the other, depending on how you want to look at things. Okay, with ivory and overlay with pure gold. If you've got ivory, why are you overlaying it with pure gold? Oh, where the ivory isn't. Ah. There were 6 steps leading up to the throne, and the back of it was rounded on the top. Oops. I just bumped my desk. Okay. The throne had 2 armrests with a statue of a lion standing on each side. There were 12 statues of lions on the 6 steps. So there's a lion on every step as you go up, and a lion at the top on each side of the throne. I mean, just imagine this. 6 steps of lions, a throne on the top with lions as well. There was nothing like it in any other kingdom. Yeah, I can imagine. All of King Solomon's cups were made of gold, and all the household items in the palace of Lebanon Forest were made of pure gold. There was no silver item, for silver was not considered very valuable in Solomon's time. Okay. That's just a fascinating thought, isn't it? That silver is considered to be meh. Who wants silver? Gold is everywhere. Gold is the thing. Gold is the... Along with Hiram's fleet, the king had a fleet of large merchant ships that sailed the sea. Once every 3 years, the fleet came into ports with cargoes of gold, silver, ivory, apes, and peacocks. Okay. The meaning of the word is unclear. Some suggest baboons. Okay, which word is unclear? You're saying peacocks is uncleared, so maybe it's apes and baboons as opposed to peacocks? Okay, so it's exotic animals, and we don't know what the animals are. That makes sense. Okay, but check this out. Every 3 years. So, one of the interesting things, theories by the way, so even a thunder mug or bedpan would have been made of gold. Yep. Very good chance of that. With maybe not. I mean, could be. But the one thing that we did see in the temple construction, there was not silver mentioned that I remember, but things that were used in sacrificial vessels were made of bronze. Remember, bronze was used for the forks, for the shovels, for other devices there. So if it wasn't going to be gold, I think it would go with bronze. Could have been made. What are the ingredients in bronze again? Let me go look that up. What is bronze made of? I think I know, but I want to make sure what it says. Okay. Bronze is an alloy primarily composed of copper and tin, but can incorporate other metals like phosphorus, nickel, magnesium, aluminum, and zinc. So copper and tin are going to be what makes bronze. So this is one other thing I was going to point out. So these ships return once every 3 years. These ships return once every 3 years. In the Upper Peninsula of Michigan is a really big copper mine that's been mined. It's not mined currently, but has been mined for hundreds and hundreds of years in different places in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. There were trade routes, pre-Columbian trade routes, where goods and services in different places in the Americas were found that were from other places. So there were trade routes throughout the Americas that one tribe or group of people would trade with others. There is a theory that one of the places that Solomon got his copper from was the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And you're like, that is weird, and how would that make any sense? And how would he have got there? I don't know how it would have got there. It could have went up around England and Nova Scotia and sailed across the top there. There could have been trade routes that were happening there. The Vikings were there a long time ago, and there were some thought that there were some that preceded the Vikings going around. Regardless of all of that, I've seen, and I don't know if there's been a validation of it. I've seen someone who put a report out saying they've tested the copper, because you can test minerals to know exactly where they came from. And some of the copper that has been found in Israel, which would be a remnant of the time, potentially, of King Solomon, has equivalent, makeup of the copper that would come from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Now, I don't know how they dated what stuff was there. I've not looked into all of the stuff. I'm just saying, that's a fascinating thing. If your ship is taking 3 years to go collect stuff, let's assume it's going out the Mediterranean and up. How far could you go and come back in 3 years? If you take a year to go somewhere, a year to load up, and a year to come back, you've got to take a bunch of supplies with you on the way to be able to trade, a bunch of supplies to be able to eat, a bunch of things to be able to, I don't know. It's a fascinating thought. If he had trade routes going in that way. And peacocks, they would be over to Asia. They'd be over to Indonesia, somewhere over there, I think, if it's peacocks. If it's baboons, it's just Africa. So it'd just be Africa and then up to Europe, but Asia certainly. You got ships going for 3 years. Not saying he went to Australia, but he certainly could have went around to India and beyond. So, wasn't the Queen of Sheba been in Europe and shipped to Israel? I do not know. Supersonic Mockingjay, I do not know. Because I don't know that we know who the Queen of Sheba is. Oh, ad break. Sorry. We'll go to Fishies for those who are here. We'll go to Fishies and stretch. Let me do this. Oh, not the ones I want. The opposite of the ones I want. Oh, well, not quite. Okay. Now maybe it'll work. There we go. So we can see the fish outside, and I'm going to feed the baby koi inside. Oh, okay. Okay. I got what you mean. Let's add over. If you're back from the ad, let me know. If you're back from the ad, let me know. I don't have the countdown anymore, so. Oh, you can see a couple of the little guys out in the pond. But look at, see, now try to count all the fish. When I feed them, there's a whole lot. You're back? Okay, thanks. Okay, so let's just go look at a map a minute. Maybe you weren't here. Let me go back and okay. So we know Israel is here, Jerusalem is here, here is where King Solomon is. So if he has ships that leave out of here in the Mediterranean, they can go all the way to ports around the Mediterranean. They can go out and they can go either north or south here. They're probably not just freely crossing the ocean here. I don't think that is happening, but you can go up the coast, you can keep going here. And there's some evidence of people who were crossing before Columbus. We don't know how far back people crossed others. I actually seen, and this is one of the things, like, I want to say, I was a history major, so I loved looking into this stuff back in the day of, did somebody make it to America before Columbus? And I explored everybody's video back in the day. So there's actually a person who took and made I'm just going to call it an ark, out of reeds from Egypt. They made an Egyptian-style boat, and they sailed to the Americas with an Egyptian-style boat to prove that they could be there. There are off the coast of, let me just do this, that'll make it easier. Off the coast, I want to say Central America here somewhere, there are weights that would be like ballast and mass on a ship that were dropped that match Chinese origin, and those predate Columbus. And there's stories of Chinese explorers potentially coming to the Americas. So, okay. Queen of Sheba, I don't know, I want to say maybe the traditional view is here in Ethiopia, is where the Queen of Sheba was. So she crosses, comes up the Red Sea, or marches and comes up to Israel up here where Solomon is. Going to be a journey, okay? Not going to take 3 years to do that. The other thought is maybe she's over here in the Arabian Peninsula in Yemen or Oman. So Solomon could easily have ships that are coming down this way into the Red Sea and could go over here to Indonesia, Malaysia, and this direction, and come up towards China and India and get a bunch of stuff. Well, you could imagine a ship taking months to go around, stop at a port, months to go somewhere else, stop at a port, and making its way back from either going down the coast of Africa, going east over to Asia and back. You can see the same thing with coming from here, going up and out of the Mediterranean and going up into England and Europe area. But somewhere, if that's true, that way over here is where there's copper mines, and this copper got to Solomon. It would have had to get somewhere over here, make its way possibly to Greenland and Iceland, and then over to Europe. I don't know if a 3-year journey and what ships they had could make it all the way over here. They weren't sailing up here. This would have been traded from here and then somewhere along the coast picked up and made its way to Europe, would be my thought. I don't know that anybody's crossing the Atlantic down here. I think you're crossing up here if you're doing anything. And if you're going from China here, you're crossing by going up and north and then back south. I don't think we're crossing just the big ocean. But those are all speculations. Like I said, someone did an investigation into the makeup of the metal, because every metal does have a different, I want to say genetic, and that's the wrong word, chemical. A different chemical identity that they can figure out the source of where it came from. So, yeah, California gold rush back in the day too. Yeah, the other thing is, these could, wherever Solomon, that's one of the things. Where did Solomon get his gold? Some believe his gold may have come from the down here in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Could be where his gold came from, or Zambia, or Zimbabwe, or like the rumors are endless of where did Solomon's gold come from. Okay, let's get back to the text. Sorry for the sidetrack on the 3-year fleet. It wasn't a 3-hour tour, it was a 3-year tour. King Solomon was wealthier and wiser than any of the kings of the earth. Everyone in the world wanted to visit Solomon to see his display, his God-given wisdom. Year after year, visitors brought their gifts, which included items of silver, items of gold, cloth, perfumes, spices, horses, and mules. The matter of a year in a year. Oh, okay. That's just kind of a weird phrasing. Mockingjay, half something, half-life, I think. The measure of carbon-14, or does that not apply to living things? I don't believe that applies to living things. There is, yeah, because copper does, I don't know that copper has carbon in it, does it? I don't know, because copper is its own element. But like there's some spectral way to measure the fullness of the purity of it in some way. So the pureness of the copper will have its own, I'm just going to use the word fingerprint for lack of knowing what it is. It has a fingerprint in the metal so that you can test it and know where it came from. So, hey T-Rex, welcome in. So that's one of the things that they had done testing. What I did not know, did someone do a second test to validate it? And then those things that were tested, how did those things get dated in the Middle East, in Israel, to be able to say, oh, these were from a time period, here was the date of those, and then we can test them and say, hey, they were from materials that came from this region. That's the thing, is like somebody saying it once, and this is before really internet is big and you can like not believe half of things because people say whatever they want and don't give sources. This was so long ago, I don't remember what the source was that I watched it in. So, hope everyone had a good 4th of July. Yeah. Hope everyone has a great day today too. Yeah. Yeah, it was good. I was down in the marketplace talking with a few people. Had a good day. Went and saw my in-laws. Came home. And went to bed. Didn't really go watch any fireworks. Did do some streaming of fireworks at my mom's house on my other channel that I just started. So. Okay. Solomon accumulated chariots and horses. Okay, wait. What are kings not supposed to do? Let's go find this. Maybe it says somewhere. Kings are not supposed to, do not, I want to say, let me see if I can find it real quick. Do not add horses. Nope, that didn't do it. I'll put wives in. Multiply, that's what it is. Oh, come on. Oh, I'm in the net translation, that's why. Different translations are going to say it differently. Let's try KJV. Oh, come on. What other channel? What do you call it? It's One Dapper Koi Pond. One Dapper Koi Pond. I was hoping to have it up in 24/7, but the computer I was going to run it on, I don't think has a video card strong enough to keep it, because I can't even pull up and watch on the computer my pawns on the cameras. So I'm like, what's up with that? Just goes a black screen. I can hear, but I can't see. So I'm not sure what's up with that. Okay. Deuteronomy 17. There we go. Did it give me 17:17? Okay. Okay. Here's the prohibitions of the king. I just wanted to go to he shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt. To the end he should not multiply horses. So, causing the people to go to Egypt to get horses. For as much as the Lord has said unto you, you shall henceforth return no more that way. Nor shall he multiply wives to himself, that his heart not turn away, neither shall he greatly multiply himself silver and gold. Okay. What's he not supposed to do? Multiply horses, multiply wives, multiply silver and gold. What are we reading about? What are we reading about? We are reading about Solomon doing those three very things. He has accumulated chariots and horses. He has 1,400 chariots, 12,000 horses. He kept them in assigned cities. And in Jerusalem, the king made silver as plentiful in Jerusalem as stones. He's multiplying silver. Although this sounds like it's kingdom-wide, not for himself. Cedar was as plentiful as sycamore fig trees are in the foothills. Solomon acquired his horses in Egypt. You're not supposed to get horses in Egypt. And from Q, the king's traders purchased them from Q. Okay, I have no idea what that is. That's verse 28. So you mean he went to James Bond? Sorry. He went to Q to get his... Okay. What verse is that? 28? And Solomon had horses brought out of Egypt, and linen yarn. The king's merchants received the linen yarn at a price. Weird. That is a vastly different... Mikveh. Hope. What? It's saying it's hope. Linen yarn. Gathered together. Pool. Okay, there's something strange-o going on-o. And there is nothing here as a footnote at all. Okay. We'll move on then. They paid 600 silver pieces for each chariot from Egypt and 150 pieces of silver pieces for each horse. They also sold chariots and horses to all the kings of the Hittites and the king of Syria. Why are they arming an enemy? Why are they arming an enemy? Come on, click on it. The chariots went up and came out of Egypt, Hittites, and the kings of Aram by the hands they brought. Okay, so it's just telling us. It says Aram, but they're giving it the name Syria because that's what we would be more familiar with. King Solomon fell in love with many foreign women besides Pharaoh's daughter, including Moabites, descendants of Lot, Ammonites, Edomites, Sidonites, and Hittites. So all the surrounding peoples. They came from the nations about which the Lord had warned the Israelites. You must not establish friendly relationships with them. If you do, they will surely shift your allegiance to their gods. But Solomon was irresistibly attracted to them. Ooh, that sounds a whole lot like Samson, doesn't it? Solomon clung to them for love. The prominent prefix translated them is masculine here, even though it appears the foreign women were in view. Perhaps this is due to attraction to the masculine forms used of the nations earlier in the verse. Oh, okay. So the nations have a masculine form, so he's attracted to the other nations. So the wives are coming from there. Okay, that's what they're just trying to explain. But here's where you're not supposed to get your wives. As I mentioned before, pay attention. Does he marry anyone from the other tribes? Does he help solidify Israel? So he's got a daughter from Egypt. Or not a daughter. He has a wife from Egypt. Now he has a wife from Moab, Ammon, Edom, Sidon, and Hittite. Okay? So some of these are descendants of Abraham as well, or relatives of Abraham. In the case of the Moabites, Lot, nephew. Edom, Esau. I can't remember Ammonites, who the Ammonites are. I forget off the top of my head. But the Hittites and the Sidonites are not descendants of Abraham. Okay. He had 700 royal wives and 300 concubines. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, there's a difference in social standing between the two. So some would be concubines, could be thought of as possessions only, and some would just be you're a concubine in status because there was no dowry with you that came with you. So, now wait a minute. Why does he need 700 wives? Are there 700 nations? No. Are these numbers symbolic? 7 being the number of totality. 100 being a significantly large number. What would have been interesting if it had just been 70 wives, which could have been for the 70 nations. That would have been interesting. But instead we see 700. And then 300 concubines, a total of 1,000. So if they're using 7 as totality, and 100 being a massive amount, and then adding it to 300 to get a total of 1,000, which is an exorbitant amount, that might be some of what they're playing with here. If this is not we really counted them, and there were precisely 700. Okay. His wives had a powerful influence over him. I don't care how many he has. Yes. I love how they say it here. His wives bent his heart. Yep. When Solomon became old, his wives shifted his allegiance to other gods. As I was pointing out, Sheba doesn't come until after his palace is built, which could be somewhere between year 17 and 24 of his reign. If he is, let's just throw 20 down as an easy number. If he's 20, he's 44 when Sheba comes in. He seems to be on track when Sheba comes in. He hasn't had really multiplying wives yet. After Sheba's visit is when he starts doing the multiplying of the wives. He already had been multiplying horses. He had already been multiplying gold. He just takes the third step of the third thing you're not supposed to do as king. He was not wholeheartedly devoted to the Lord his God as his father David had been. Solomon worshipped the Sidonian goddess Ashtoreth and the detestable Ammonite god Milcom. I think this is often translated Moloch. Is that what it's going to say? Milcom. Oh, nope. detestable things of the Ammonites. Okay, it's just a word order process. Solomon did evil in the Lord's sight. He did not remain loyal to the Lord as his father David had. Furthermore, on the hills east of Jerusalem, Solomon built a high place for the detestable Moab god Chemosh and for the detestable Ammonite god Milcom. He built high places for all his foreign wives so they could burn incense and make sacrifices to their gods. Molech is in the Latin. Oh, okay, Wade. Thanks for that, Wade Mock. I was thinking I should hear Moloch here. That's where I'm getting it from, is from the Latin. Okay. So who do we have? Who do we have in the ancestry? Okay, so some of what we had here should have been taking our minds back to, I think, Samson in the loving after foreign women, the longing after foreign women. It sounds a whole lot like the Samson story. Who do we have in the time of Judges who would be the opposite of the Samson story? It would be the Ruth story, who is a Moabite, who, when she leaves Moab, she tells Naomi, your God will be my God, your people will be my people. The wives of Solomon do not make that pledge. They do not take that on. He does not require that of them. He does not ask that of them. Instead, he says, hey, who do you serve? Well, I've got a giant temple for my God. I'll give you a high place as well. Come on into my kingdom. You can still serve your God in the land that my God possesses. Excuse me? If we go with cosmic geography and my God is the God of this territory, when you are on my God's territory, your God has no place here. He shouldn't be building them. But by building those places, there is an embassy, if you will, in the land for the foreign gods to reside. He's building embassies to foreign gods because his foreign wives need a place to worship the foreign god. So he is giving sovereign soil to the foreign god to be in the land of Israel so that people can worship the foreign gods in the land of Israel that is the land of God. I hope you can see that connection there. Hope you can see that, because that would be how an ancient person would have looked at things. Maybe not the embassy word, but I'm using a modern word to help us see that. The Lord was a little bit upset with Solomon because he had shifted his allegiance away from the Lord, the God of Israel, who had appeared to him on 2 occasions. Like, it's not like you haven't seen this God and you shifted away. Like, you saw him. You saw him. And he warned him about this very thing so that he would not follow other gods. Like, hey, I showed up. I told you specifically this. But he did not obey the Lord's command. So the Lord said to Solomon, because you insisted on doing these things and have not kept the covenantal rules I gave you, I will surely tear the kingdom away from you and give it to your servant. However, for your father David's sake, I will not do this while you are alive. I will tear it away from your son's hand instead. But I will not tear away the entire kingdom. I will leave your son one tribe for my servant David's sake and for the sake of my chosen city. Okay, so as I was mentioning earlier, we have mention of marrying foreign wives. We have 0 mentions of marrying anyone from the other tribes of Israel. So when the kingdoms are torn away, who are you going to go with? Are you going to go with the son of the man who did not think your tribe was worthy of taking a wife from, or the upstart who says, yeah, forget that guy, forget that lineage, we don't need them, come follow me? Easy to follow the upstart. Easy to follow the upstart when you're upset with the old. The Lord, okay, also interesting thing is, unlike Eli, who is going to know that God has passed the judgment on him, and he's going to hear about his sons being dead in the same day. A difference here being priestly versus kingly, I think, in the outcome. But Eli hears about the fulfillment of God's promise, and then he falls over and he dies. Here, Solomon is spared the humiliation of watching it happen. He's spared watching it happen. And what I want to know is, why doesn't he warn his son? Why doesn't he warn his son and say, hey, God has told me that he's going to tear part of the kingdom away from you? Maybe he does. I don't know. But I'm just saying, the way he acts, I don't feel like he knows. But I'm just thinking, wouldn't you tell that to your son, to be cautious, to be careful, or to just say, hey, when it happens, you knew God was going to do it? Or that maybe his son can appeal like David to God and see if he could change it. I don't know. The Lord brought against Solomon an enemy, Hadad the Edomite, a descendant of the Edomite king. During David's campaign against Edom, Joab, the commander of the army, while on a mission to bury the dead, killed every male in Edom. For Joab and the entire Israelite army stayed there 6 months until they exterminated every male in Edom. Hadad, okay, what is this saying? Or Adad, an alternate for the name Hadad. Okay. Hadad, who was only a small boy at the time, escaped with some of his father's Edomite servants and headed to Egypt. They went from Midian to Paran. They took some men from Paran and went to Egypt. Pharaoh, king of Egypt, gave him a house and some land and supplied him with food. Pharaoh liked Hadad so well, he gave him his sister-in-law, Queen Tapenes' sister, as a wife. Gave him a wife, the sister of his wife, the sister of Tapenes the queen. Okay. Wow, this would, I don't know if we can name or date that. That's an interesting, I don't remember that part. So, Pharaoh, his daughter is married to Solomon, but Hadad gets the queen's sister. Interesting. Tapenes' sister gave birth to his son named Genubath. Tapenes raised him in Pharaoh's palace. Genubath grew up in Pharaoh's palace among Pharaoh's sons. While in Egypt, Hadad heard that David had passed away and that Joab, the commander of the army, was dead. So Hadad asked Pharaoh, "Give me permission to leave so I can return to my homeland." Pharaoh said to him, "What do you lack here that makes you want to go to your homeland?" Hadad replied, "Nothing, but please give me permission to leave." Like, I don't lack anything. God also brought against Solomon another enemy, Rezon, son of Eliadah, who had run away from his master, King Hadadezer of Zobah. He gathered some men and organized a raiding band. When David tried to kill them, they went to Damascus, where they settled down and gained control of the city. He was Israel's enemy throughout Solomon's reign, and like Hadad, caused trouble. He loathed Israel and ruled over Syria. Why is Streamlabs sending us to other Bible study stream away from yours? I'm not sure what you mean. I mean, is Twitch suggesting other people, or what do you mean Streamlabs is sending it somewhere else? Or are you just talking about the shout out there to Wade Mock, who's hanging out? Oh, it's just the shout outs. Yeah, well, we give other people shout outs here, so. Other people are on when I'm not on. So you can go hang out with them when I'm not here. Let's go check out what the names mean. These are Satan as a title and adversary. Oh. Okay, let me go look at the names here. So we've got Hadad, so 11. And what's the other guy's name? Oh. Genubeth. Genubeth. Hadad and Genubeth. So we're down in like the end here, or the middle here. So we have Hadad. Mighty. Mighty. That's a good name.
Strong's H 1908. Hadad.
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 Genubeth. That sounds super Egyptian. Theft.
Strong's H 1592. Genuvath.
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 Theft. Okay. You need a name for your band and you want to be creative? Genubath. Theft. Theft. Oh, why are you naming your kid Theft? That's weird. That's weird. Ah. Rezer, son of... Okay, so you have Rezer, 23. Or Rezon. Resin. Rezwan.
Strong's H 7331. Razon. Razon.
Rezon. Rezon. So we have Theft and Prince are coming against him. How did your time go with the prayer booth yesterday? Also, did you catch any of the parade? Oh, yeah, I could see the parade from where we were at. It wasn't a great view of the parade, but yeah, I did get to see some of the parade. There weren't a lot of people around during the parade, but I did have conversations with a few people. Did have a long conversation with one person, and it was better than a lot of Sundays have been down there. So it was good. Definitely worth the time to be there. Oh yeah, it's a way of showing awareness to other streams or streamers. Yeah, that's what we're doing. We're just doing a shout out to, hey, here's another streamer that you can check out when I'm not on, and then it tells you what they're doing. So that's all. So. And I think I've asked you this before. WHBQ is that what you want to be called? Or is there something else and you may have told me, and I'm sorry if I forgot. But otherwise, I'll just, because BQ sounds like barbecue a little bit. So, radio station about barbecue is what my brain wants to go to. Okay, so he has nothing. He just wants to leave. We have another one who rules over here. Jeroboam, son of Nebat, one of Solomon's servants, rebelled against the king. He was an Ephraimite from Zeradah. His mother was a widow named Zerah. Why do we have mom's name? Why do we have mom's name? Verse 26. Zerah.
Strong's H 6871. Seruah. Seruah.
I'm not gonna read that for you. I'm not gonna read that for you. I'm gonna avoid reading the meaning of that name. Uh, yeah. I don't usually regret looking up name meanings. I think I finally have. George is great. WHBQ is your sports talk station in Memphis. See, it did sound like a radio station. It was your first station to ever play an Elvis Presley record. There we go. There we go. It's a Memphis reference. See, I figured it was something. I just didn't know. But it's a sports radio now. That's interesting that it's become sports radio. But stations change like that. They aren't doing well with whatever they're doing. The market changes and they sell and something else gets put on there. George is great. Well, I can call you George. I'll apologize if I forget the next time you're here if it's a little while between pop-ins and I forget it's George because there's no G in your name there. But I'll do my best, friend. I like to call people whatever you want. I like to shorten things too. Like, I'm watching you people. I usually just say, I'm watching. Or Wade Mach 77. I usually don't add the 77 on the end. I just shorten it. It's just what we do around my area. Can I shorten your name? We will do that. Okay. Jeroboam, son of Nebat, was one of Solomon's servants, rebelled against him. He was an Ephraimite. Oh, we read that verse. His mother was a widow named Zerah. So this is what prompted him to rebel against the king. Solomon built a terrace, and he closed up a gap in the wall of the city of his father David. Jeroboam was a talented man. When Solomon saw that the young man had an accomplished worker, he made him a leader of his work crew from the tribe of Joseph. At that time, when Jeroboam had left Jerusalem, the prophet Ahijah, the Shilonite, met him on the road, and the two of them were alone on the open country. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, it started as we have the best quartets. That is funny. So that even before Elvis, we have the best quartets. We have the oh man, that's beautiful. I love that. I would have never known that if you weren't calling yourself WHBQ Memphis Radio coming to you live. We have the best quartet since 1928, and you can only hear them here. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Settle in. You're in for a treat. Quartets today, tomorrow, and every day coming at you live. There you go. Shout out to your radio station. Yeah, I've got people that call me flat cap. I got a friend that just calls me flat. He doesn't even want to make the cap in there. This is flat. Some are just Dapper P. I mean, I don't care what you call me. It's all good. I'll answer to it all. Ahijah was wearing a brand new robe, and he grabbed the robe and tore it into 12 pieces. Significant, it's a new robe. Then he told Jeroboam, take 10 pieces, for this is what the Lord God of Israel has said. Look, I'm about to tear the kingdom from Solomon's hand, and I will give 10 tribes to you. Okay, wait a minute. Didn't God say you were only going to be left with one tribe to Solomon? Now the prophet's doing something where Solomon gets two of them. Oh, we got to redeem a flat cap? Okay, we'll get that. Wade, I usually stream overnight due to the internet being so slow here during the day, especially since kids are out of school. Yeah, I don't catch yours very often either because I'm not usually up at that time. So those that have not seen it, this is the recycled hat. This is made out of old coffee bags. So it's like burlap bag. It's like burlap bag material. And it's been redeemed, it's been recycled, it's been restored, it's been rejuvenated. And it's also sackcloth. So when we're mourning and we got to put our sackcloth and ashes on, it's a good hat to wear. A little more colorful than sackcloth and ashes, but it does the deal. Okay, so we got 10 tribes coming your way. Oh, you can see there's a lining in it. There's a nice lining in it. Actually, the hat is comfortable. It's just slightly big. It's just slightly big. I need a little spacer in it. You can see I got a little wiggle on it. But it's funny how some hat manufacturers you'll measure your head, it's a certain size, and they have more play in it. So no, it's a comfortable hat. It's not uncomfortable. It's lined. So when did you first fell in love with these hats? 7th grade. 7th grade is when I got the first one. I really, really wish I still had that one. It was I'm gonna say might have been closest to this style one here, and had a snap on the front. This one's got two. It just had a single snap in the front, so it's not identical to that style. That was the first one I got. But this is the style that I wore for years, just the straight on 6 panel. That's the style I think is the most comfortable. But I want to say the one I got in 6th grade, I couldn't I got it at like a secondhand store, and I couldn't find them in the store. I looked for years to find a new one, so I wore. So though I got that in 7th grade, by the time I got to high school, I had worn the hat out and I didn't wear it anymore. And I wore baseball caps backwards with a bandana underneath it. That was the style I wore. I wore a bandana and I wore my hats backwards like that. That's like you would have seen the bandana here, the hats on the head backwards like that. I did that into college. It took years before I could find another hat to wear. This style was around. This is a felt hat. This is what my stepdad wore. This is his old hat. I didn't care for this style as much. I don't find these ones are as nice. I'll just show you a minute. So those were around, but I didn't like those. Not because my stepdad wore them. I just didn't like them. So there you go. And then in the last 10 years, hats have become available. You can buy them on the internet. I've actually seen them in stores. And then with Peaky Blinders coming out, it's like all of a sudden it is the renaissance. It is the renaissance of flat caps. It's not that they weren't available. I just didn't live in a place that they were available. They were on the coasts, and I live in the middle. Yeah, the felt hat is kind of reminds you of a Kangol. Yeah, that makes sense too. And I got a friend. North Hill Live has some Kangols. I don't have a Kangol. He was giving me some grief about I don't have a Kangol. I might have to get a Kangol. That I do not have. But now, I love how you people like this is fun, and I'm saying you people. I don't mean I'm watching you people. Okay, I mean this with all joy, because this just reminds me of one of my favorite teachers in school, where we would get the teacher off on a tangent talking, and we'd have a great conversation, had nothing to do with, and that was one of my favorite teachers. So when you get me off talking on something else, on a tangent rabbit trail, I just love it because I feel like we're connecting on something. So thank you for the question. Thank you for the question. Alan Theus. Al, thank you for that. Okay, back to the Bible. Maybe that's what I should call the channel, Back to the Bible, because I always need to say that. Well, we're reading the Bible. We should get back to it. We should get back on track. Okay. He will retain one tribe. Oh, that's what he means here. He will retain one tribe from my servant's David's sake, and for the sake of Jerusalem, the city I have chosen for him among all the tribes. I am taking the kingdom from him because they have abandoned me and worshiped the Sidonian goddess Ashtoreth, and the Moab god Chemosh, and the Ammonite god Milcom. They have not followed my instructions by doing what I approved and obeying my rules and regulations as Solomon's father did. Okay, so I got it. Now I figured out. He keeps the tribe of Judah, and he keeps one other tribe. So he doesn't lose his own tribe. He's not losing. He's retaining one tribe in addition to his own tribe. So he gets to keep one in addition to Judah. The other 10 are torn away. That's the keep one. I was thinking you keep your own tribe. No, keep one in addition to. The northern kingdom is setting up its own festivals. Yes, they haven't, well, these are in the high places east of Jerusalem. Okay, so it's all of Israel has gone astray at this point under the influence, or I shouldn't say all. There is a portion of Israel that is going astray under the watch of Solomon by the influence of the foreign wives and himself, because he's setting up these places, these high places. So it's not a division of north and south here. It's just generic. The kingdom has gone after. So not specifically northern kingdom yet, Wade. Jeroboam's going to do that himself. I will not take the whole kingdom from his hands. I will allow him to rule for the rest of his life for the sake of my chosen servant David, who kept my commands and rules. Okay, so wait. He's being told, I'm not taking all of it because of this. This should be a clue. How to not lose your kingdom is to do the thing that Solomon failed to do the thing that David did. You should be paying attention to this thing. What is this we stuff? Most of the Bible combos I encourage all of these. I'm just saying, I encourage all of those. Yes. I encourage all of them. I'm good with all of them. That's why we get behind. But we also get behind because things happen in life. Like, I was gone last week for a funeral. So that happens. I'll be gone in a few weeks for vacation. That happens. So, no biggie. I will take the kingdom from the hand of his son and give 10 tribes to you. I will leave his son one tribe, so my servant David's dynasty may continue to serve me in Jerusalem, the city I have chosen as my home. I will select you. You will rule over all your desire to have, and you will be king over Israel. You must obey all I command you to do. Follow my instructions, do what I approve, and keep my rules and commands as my servant David did. Then I will be with you and establish for you a lasting dynasty as I did for David. I will give you Israel. I will humiliate David's descendants because of this, but not forever. Solomon tried to kill Jeroboam, but Jeroboam escaped to Egypt and found refuge with King Shishak of Egypt. He stayed in Egypt until Solomon died. So, Solomon gets word of this. Solomon does not go and try to make peace with him. He tries to eliminate him, thinking that will solve the problem. He stays there till Solomon dies. Okay. Another point here, Solomon is not after God's own heart like David is, because though it does not say he's anointed here, his father David would not take a hand to kill Saul because he was the Lord's anointed. Here, whether anointed yet or not, we could view Jeroboam as the Lord's anointed because a prophet has come to him and has told him, you are to be the king over 10 tribes. Therefore, he is the Lord's anointed in waiting, just as David was, and just as Saul tried to kill David, Solomon tries to kill Jeroboam. Your FC's 100 follower on TikTok? Cool number. Yeah. I don't know FC, but okay. Yeah, it's a good time for the trombones. Okay. The rest of the events of Solomon's reign, including all his accomplishments and his wise decisions, are recorded in the scroll called the Annals of Solomon. Solomon ruled over Israel from Jerusalem for 40 years, and he passed away and was buried in the city of his father David. His son Rehoboam replaced him as king. Oh, sorry. You just shortened the FC to flat cap. Okay, sorry. FC is, I was thinking soccer. So, I did not realize. Wow, I didn't know I had that many followers. That's, yay. I haven't put stuff out in a couple days. I need to get some stuff out. But yeah, I didn't, sorry. FC, I don't know. I was thinking soccer clubs for some reason. Because it's football club. Oh, is that a lost book or a collection of books? Okay, I'm going to go with the lost book. We have this throughout Kings and Chronicles specifically. I'm going to have some fun with the FC clubs now, you know, the football clubs. It's the flat caps. I'm going to be rooting for the people with the flat cap in their name, right? I might have to just go get a bunch of soccer shirts that said FC on them. I won't be doing that. I rarely wear t-shirts, but I am today, in case you were wondering. I'm wearing the swag for the DC4C, which is Digital Creators for Christ. Okay. So Annals of Solomon. Let's see what the footnote says here. I'll just go off of that first. As the rest of the events, all he did. Oh, that's just writing in a different way. So there are references to books. So the Annals of Solomon would have been the historical records that would have been kept by the king of everything that took place on a daily basis. We get an example of this in the book of Esther, not of the Jewish kings, or Israel's kings. We get this from Esther, where the king can't sleep, and he asks them to read from the annals of the king, the chronicles, the record books of the king. And the guy's reading about when Mordecai saved his life, and he's like, hey, I remember that. What did we do to celebrate that guy? Nothing. So there were historical documents, like there would be a scribe writing everything that happened on a daily basis of all of the stuff, and so that would be the Annals of Solomon. It was not a book of scripture. It would have been a governmental book. We have other books that are referred to as well. At times to time, it will do this. At the end, it will say, and aren't all the events written over here in this other source? Those are the historical records. I am telling you a spiritual story about what happened in the course of history. So that's a way to look at those. Oh, and thanks for the shout out for my other channel I just got started. It eventually, I want it to be a 24/7 stream, which will be my fish, my pond, sunrise, sunsets, all that kind of stuff. That'll be an ongoing 24/7 channel to just relax and hang out and enjoy creation. Get sunset. Last night was beautiful. If you want to go back and catch the VOD, and I want to say the one on the 3rd, there was some rain, and I thought there was a water spout that was forming, and then it just like dissipated, and the storm clouds cleared up. Like it's towards the end of that. I gotta go send that to my son and ask him. He's a meteorologist. Go, hey, what did I just see there? What just happened there? So, yeah, that's my other one. I just started. I've been talking about starting that for a while, and so I finally did. Even though I can't do it all the time, I can't do it while I'm actually using my computer. I will potentially it will be a weekend stream that will go Friday night through Saturday into Sunday. When I'm not usually on my computer, I'll be streaming on the other channel. I'm not setting any definite here's the time I'm streaming yet, but if you want to look over the weekend starting this evening, it'll probably be up and going. So, yep, and it's just going to be animals, aquariums, and zoos. That'll be all it is. There were some fireworks last night. Not great, but they were just, private fireworks on the beach that were going off. So I got a few of those. The ones that were here were louder, but I couldn't get good enough because only a portion of them come above the trees at my house. Anyway, Solomon, he's gone. And his son Rehoboam replaces him. Okay. So we have not looked up Rehoboam, and we have not, or Jeroboam, but now we have Rehoboam. I was waiting until we had Rehoboam, and now we'll look up the two names. Okay, I'm looking. Ads start in a minute. I'm going to let the ads go. And let's just go over to fish for a minute before the ads come in. So I can do this and show you. If you have that spot as a video, consider about it to your TikTok. Folks love theorizing over the weather. Oh, yeah, awesome. And I'm not going to create a separate TikTok channel for the stream, I don't think. But look at the sun coming in. So let me just pan over here a second. Okay, so right here above the tree line, I could see the local fireworks were going off last night. So I could sit, and I only get to see them right above the tree line. They're not very high. They just go right here, and they would go off, and that would be all I could see from my house. I can hear a lot more. Up and down the lake, they echo around. They come up the riverbed, which is, so let me just do this. So that is straight to the lake. Over this direction. Why is it not going further? Maybe it's set different than normal. I'll go back. So all the way over here is the White Lake area. And I hear fireworks across the lake over here. And they echo around everywhere else. I'll just pan down to the waterfall too. I'm thinking about changing the angle on this because I'm thinking from the other side, now that I've redone all of this with rocks, I'm thinking that actually I might move to the front. But anyway. They're all over here in the shade. Notice the fish are in the shade. There's some sun over on this side, but they're all over here. I'm wondering if they got fed yet. No, it's close to feeding time. That might be it. They know it's close to feeding time. They might be gathering over there. As do the baby koi. Oh, if you can see, like over here, like all those little spots that are on, let me just pan. Can I pan that over? Yeah, I can pan that over. Okay, I don't know if you can see that real well. There's all these like spots that look like they're white along the sides there. That is all eggs for the snails that are in there. I don't know if you can see that real well, but that's what that is. That is all snail eggs in there. So, you can see that in the guppy tank? Is there are not a whole bunch of snail eggs in the guppy tank right now. There's a bunch of snails, but not any eggs. Oh, and the camera got moved. Well, who moved the camera? No sun today. No sun today out there. Okay. All right. We're back, and I want to at least get into the Rehoboam, Jeroboam thing. So let's go into chapter 12. We'll do chapter 12. Let me see. How far are we? Where does it say here? So that would take us to here. That would take us to here. Going a lot slower than we did yesterday. Yesterday we got through a lot of chapters with all the building. There's probably more that I could go into and dive into there, but there's a level at which I don't think there's a lot of stuff for me to know out of that's going to bless me in what I'm doing to live out and love my neighbor. That makes sense. Okay, so we're going to look up Rehoboam and Jeroboam. Okay. So Rehoboam and Jeroboam. Jeroboam is king, Jeroboam is promised to be king, and Rehoboam is the king.
Strong's H3379. Yaroveam. Yaroveam.
Okay, his name is the people will contend. His name is the people will contend. We are going to watch that the people are going to contend. They are going to rebel against Rehoboam. The name of the leader of the people who rebel is the people will contend. If your name is the people will contend, would you not be a viable leader for the people who are contending? That's beautiful. Rehoboam, a people has enlarged. A people has
Strong's
enlarged.
7346. Rehavam. Rehavam.
That's interesting. So, his dad had enlarged the kingdom. The people have enlarged, and now the people will contend. Oh, wait, he's also going to try to enlarge himself. That's funny. Okay, now that we got that down, let's get into what happens. Rehoboam traveled to Shechem, for all Israel had gathered in Shechem to make Rehoboam king. When Jeroboam, son of Nebat, heard the news, he was still in Egypt, where he had fled from King Solomon, and had been living ever since. They sent for him, and Jeroboam and the whole Israelite assembly came to speak to Rehoboam, saying, "Your father had made us work too hard. Now, if you lighten the demands he made and don't make us work as hard, we will serve you." He said to them, "Go away for 3 days, then return to me." So the people went away. Not a bad thought. Let me think on this. Let me ponder this. Let me get some advice. Let me get some wisdom before I make a short, immediate decision. Seemed like a good practice to do. But notice, Jeroboam is here with the people. They come with the request, lighten the load. We'll serve you. What happens if he says yes? What happens if he says yes? King Rehoboam consulted with the older advisors who had served his father Solomon when he had been alive. He asked them, "How do you advise me to answer these people?" They said to him, "Today, if you will be a servant to these people and grant their requests, speaking kind words to them, they will be your servants from this time forward." But Rehoboam rejected their advice and consulted the younger advisors who served him, with whom he had grown up. He asked them, "How would you advise me to respond to these people who have said, 'Lessen the demands your father placed on us'?" The young advisors with whom Rehoboam had grown up said to him, "Say this to these people who had said to you, 'Your father made us work hard, but now lighten the burden.' Say this to them, I am a lot harsher than my father. My father imposed heavy burdens on you. I will make them even heavier. My father's punishment punished you with ordinary whips. I will punish you with whips that really sting your flesh. Okay, I think that says scorpions. Maybe just fine. Yeah. My father punished you with whips, but I will punish you with scorpions. Scorpions may allude to some type of torture using poisonous insects, but more likely it refers to a type of whip that infected an especially biting, painful wound. Whips with pieces of sharp metal. Yeah, he punished you with whips. I'm going to use a cat of nine tails, if you know what that is. Like, it's going to rip your flesh. Jeroboam and all the people reported to Rehoboam on the third day. Just as the king had ordered them, he said, "Return to me on the third day." The king responded to the people harshly. He rejected the advice of the older men and followed the advice of the younger men. He said, "My father imposed heavy bonds on you. I will make them even heavier. My father punished you with ordinary whips, and I will punish you with whips that really sting your flesh." The king refused to listen to the people because the Lord had instigated this turn of events so that he might bring to pass a prophetic announcement he had made through Ahijah the Shilonite to Jeroboam, son of Nebat. What I'm interested in wondering, and it takes some time to go look it up, so I'm not going to go, is who the mother of Rehoboam is. So the cat of nine tails came from Rehoboam? No. I don't think so. I was simply saying there may have been something more vicious like that, if you know what that is. And he's saying an ordinary whip versus something more severe. So no, I don't think, I'm not suggesting he created the cat of nine tails. I'm just thinking he's making a reference to something that would maybe be a precursor to it or similar. But not specifically the Roman use of the cat of nine tails. No, I don't know who invented that. Good question, though. No, I was just trying to give you a visual image of how that comparison should be thought of, I think, for the people. Okay. The Lord had instigated these events because this turn of events was from the Lord. Okay. So the storyteller here is making sure that you know that it wasn't just a bad decision on the king. God had already told these things. God is already orchestrating these things. And good advice was given to the king that he ignored. Bad advice was given to the king that he liked. So he went with the advice he liked. Which, let's see what happens. When all Israel saw the king refuse to listen to the people answered the king, "We have no portion in David, no share in this son of Jesse." Why? That's what I told you before. None of them got to marry into the family. None of them married had a wife that was one of Solomon's wives. None of them. He's marrying foreigners only. Or at least that's the only clues we have, is mention of foreigners. Which, you know what, I'm wondering if I ran through the list again, how many that was. Don't remember. Oh, how did the 4th of July prayer booth go? Alan, it was good. So I got down there, just before the parade was starting and came through. There were a few people around. Chatted with a few people that were visitors from Indiana, Illinois. Chatted with them for a little bit, and they were around. I had another person who stopped in and was telling me about what was going on in her daughter's life, and her ex-husband, who is on friendly terms, has got cancer and some stuff like that, and that was really nice. I get those things usually only on Saturdays. I don't usually get those on Sundays, but I had that, and then I didn't have a lot of other people stop in the booth, but it was better than I usually have on Sunday. Sunday I usually spend most of the time chatting with other people who are in the artisan market. I had conversations with several other people. I got to do some serving. Like there were people who had kids who were around and they were looking for, there's somebody who put up a sandbox. I helped them find the sandbox. And other people were looking for things. I just got to be around and help in some ways, even if I didn't have a lot of opportunities of prayer or a lot of people taking prayers or blessings. But I did get a good suggestion. Someone said, hey, another person was like, yeah, we drove 3 hours up here to come for this. And then, we're going to have the 3 hours with the kids in the car. It'd be great to have a prayer or a blessing for driving in the car. So that's on my agenda in the next week, to come up with some prayers and blessings for, here's a prayer to read before your trip in the car, or here's a blessing over you as you travel in the car. So yeah. Oh yeah, the prayer booth is a regular thing. I started that Mother's Day weekend. So normally the hours are Saturday and Sunday 9 to 2. So. Oh yeah, I totally think that sometimes, well, I have a sign out in front that, points in and says, need prayer. The arrow, the other side, says something about lonely, struggling, need someone to chat with, and an arrow. So yeah, like the bless booth is what it is. So it's begin with prayer, listen. I haven't figured out how to eat or enjoy shared experiences, which would be the E, but serve and share your story with them. Like I'm doing all but the eat part with them. Now, I guess I can say enjoy shared experiences. Just being in the artisan market is kind of a way I do that. But yeah, I'm getting to be down there and bless people, which is the whole point of it. And that will run into September sometime. And then we'll see what God's doing. And I did get my bank account set up this week so that all the donations that anyone gives. So by the way, down there, the prayer booth, the money that's on there, that's for me to be able to pay the rent for the booth down there. So anything given to that goes towards paying the rent to be in the booth, and I need to come up with the rest of that money in the next month to get the rent paid for the rest of the summer. So hopefully the city manager doesn't come and say, hey, you need the rent paid. He's given me the extension that other people may not have had. But if he says I need to pay it, I'll have to pay it. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. And now that I have a bank account and I'm registered as a nonprofit, not a 501c3 yet, I can accept donations locally from people. It can't be like a parked car. I'm sure someone could do that. Like, I had the thought. Now, this would be more expense, but yeah, I mean, well, who's going to come up to a parked car and talk to a stranger, if you put that out there? This is something in my community that's available. So there's a whole bunch of booths that you can rent down there. And other people are selling flowers, baked goods, art, whatever they have. People rent the booths and sell their stuff for the summer. So I'm renting a booth to do that. So yeah, I could do it from a parked car, but I don't think anybody would come up to me necessarily for that. But I had thought about, like, if I took a food truck and I turned a food truck into a prayer booth, then that would be a thing I could travel with, and go to bigger events and have a place of prayer. But that would be another expense to try to do something like that. So, thanks for asking. Okay. Back to the king who was so wise, unlike his dad. Oh, wait. Dad didn't turn out to be so wise either. We have no part in you, son of Jesse. Return to your homes, O Israel. Now look after your own dynasty, O David. So Israel returned to their homes. Rehoboam continued to rule over Israelites who lived in the cities of Judah. King Rehoboam sent Adoniram, the supervisor of work crews. Adoram in the Old Greek. Okay. the supervisor of the work crews, out after them, but all Israel stoned him to death. King Rehoboam managed to jump into his chariot and escape to Jerusalem. So Israel had been in rebellion against the Davidic dynasty to this very day. When all Israel heard that Jeroboam had returned, they summoned him to the assembly and made him king over all Israel. No one except the tribe of Judah remained loyal to the Davidic dynasty. Thought we later are going to find out Benjamin was there, but we'll just wait and see. When Rehoboam arrived in Jerusalem, he summoned 180,000 skilled warriors from all Judah and the tribe of Benjamin. Oh, I'm wrong here. To attack Israel and restore the kingdom to Rehoboam, son of Solomon. Oh, no, this is Rehoboam, not Jeroboam. Okay, so yeah, I am right. So, and the tribe of Benjamin. So you got Judah and the tribe of Benjamin who are together here. Even though before it said no one except the tribe of Judah remained loyal. But he summons from warriors from Benjamin. To attack Israel and restore the kingdom to Rehoboam, son of Solomon. But God told Shemaiah, the prophet, say this to King Rehoboam, son of Solomon of Judah, and to all Judah and Benjamin, as well as the rest of the people. This is what the Lord has said. Do not attack and make war against your brother, the Israelites. Each of you go home. Indeed, this thing has happened because of me. So they obeyed the Lord's message. They went home in keeping with the Lord's message. So they're going to go attack, which would be the natural thing to do with rebellion. And they're told, this is of God. Leave them alone. Leave them alone. Oh, you don't know what an outside prayer booth looks like. Let me just look here and I can show you. So this is what it is. So we've got all of that one right here. The second booth is my booth right there. So there's a booth here. They've got flowers and plants and earrings and other homemade things in there. I'm in the second booth there. The third booth over here is set up to be able to sell food. The third one, she sells baked goods and candy, or not candy, cookies. The third one over here is art. This one over here has got some other homemade things and stuff. And there, right over here is where the sandbox is. This guy does a lot of metalworking and woodworking there. Here's some home goods stuff. And then it goes on around the corner. And then at times, people set up these tents on different weekends where you can just sell your stuff on a one weekend basis. So that's what we have in my community available. Not every community has this, but all of these booths are available to be able to rent. So I'm renting one of those. I understand now why it can't be the same place as a park car. Yeah. Oh, wrong thing. Why am I going to that? Here's what I want. There we go. Okay. Jeroboam makes golden calves. Actually, if you want to follow that, or learn more, what do I have the webs? Yeah, I think it's Blessed White Lake. Let me find that a second. I could do it this way. Yeah, so actually, let me do this a second. So that's inside the booth. I've got little blessings and prayers on the wall. And that's what it looks like. I got a little chair to sit on. So that's what's inside my booth. And you can see the outside of it right there. I was trying to find the website, but it wouldn't take me there, which is really weird. I know, we're on rabbits. It's all good. Why is it not coming up with my website? It's showing my, which that was on my own TikTok. I don't have a TikTok for the account. I do have a YouTube channel for it, but I was trying to find, I have a Facebook as well, but it's not going to the website. This one is finicky. This browser I'm using is often not wanting to give me or let me go places, because it's like it's not set up with security or whatever. It's like, yeah, whatever. Shout out to all the mods that are keeping these Twitch streams a safe, manageable, and welcoming place. Absolutely. Absolutely. So there you can go. You can go to the, I can apparently do it in this browser, but we'll get back to finishing up Rehoboam and Jeroboam, or at least the start of it. Okay. You know what? If I look at the reading for today, is this where they left off? Was with 12:25? Yeah, they start with the golden calf. Maybe we just leave that and we can follow Jeroboam into a prophet visit. Because this is split in a chapter here is what it looks like. It's split in a chapter there. What are the chances of getting to the middle of Psalms by November? Well, I'll tell you what probably made like the first year of streaming through the Bible, I probably had fewer sidetracks because fewer people were in the chat on some of those to be able to get sidetracked, and we made a lot of headway. Plus, I was streaming 5 days a week instead of 4 days a week. As I am currently. So, but yeah, why don't we, now we'll keep going. We'll keep going. Because this is such a bonehead move. I'm sorry. This is a bonehead move. Jeroboam built up Shechem in the Ephraimite hill country and lived there. From there he went out and built up Penuel. Jeroboam then, okay, if you're just trying to remember, I've got different ways of remembering, because we got Jeroboam, we got Rehoboam. How do you know which person was for which kingdom? This works out coincidentally, but it works. Which letter comes first in the alphabet? J comes before R. So you have J is in the northern kingdom, and R is below it. So you have Jeroboam and Rehoboam. Jeroboam is the north, and Rehoboam is the south. It works several different times in Scripture. So if you're ever confused about northern and southern, you're going to be right about 90% of the time if you go to the letter of the alphabet and the letter of the alphabet is going to work. If you want to go chronologically at times and you got two people, it also works most of the time that the person who came first and the person who, well, I'm doing this backwards, person who came first, person who came second, are going to be alphabetical order. It just happens coincidentally, but it's really helpful when you can't remember. You're going to be right most of the time if you go that way, way more than 50% of the time. That was how I used a memory device all the time when I was studying these to remember. So I should throw that info at you. Okay. Jeroboam, here's where I like, okay. Jeroboam built up Shechem in Ephraimite country. Jeroboam then thought to himself, now the Davidic dynasty could regain the kingdom if, if these people go up to offer sacrifices in the Lord's temple in Jerusalem. Their loyalty could shift to their former master, King Rehoboam of Judah. They might kill me and return to King Rehoboam of Judah. After the king had consulted with his advisors. Okay. So, what was the mistake of Rehoboam? Rehoboam consulted with his advisors. What did Rehoboam forget to do? Consult with the Lord. There's nothing that says Rehoboam consulted with the Lord. Now, a prophet intervened when he was going to attack Israel and was told not to, and he listened. But he didn't go consult with the Lord when the kingdom was being torn away or when people said, we will serve you. He should have went to the Lord and inquired of the Lord, should I go along with the people and reduce their work or should I not? He didn't go to the Lord. So here, Jeroboam is worried, and this seems legit. But he's had a promise from God. He needs to serve God. He goes to his advisors what he should do. Now, maybe he does not have access to a prophet of God. He can send word to a prophet of God or to the priest of God. Or there are Levites who are in the cities, in the 10 cities, who he could send messages through to the temple, to a prophet. He could inquire of God. There are ways he could do this. Does none of those. He does go get advice, but look at the advice. He made 2 golden calves. Then he said to the people, this is too much trouble for you to go up to Jerusalem. Look, Israel, here are your gods who brought you up from the land of Egypt. What were the people not supposed to do? I'm sorry, the king's supposed to do. Take the people back to Egypt, not to go to get horses from Egypt. He gets a queen from Egypt. So there's a connection back to Egypt. The horses are coming from Egypt. They are connected with Egypt. What happens? Out of Egypt comes the ruler who's going to rule the northern tribe. And what does he do? Exactly what the people wanted to do when they came out of Egypt. We don't know about this Moses guy. We don't know about this God. And boom, here's a golden calf. What does he say? Here are your gods who brought you up out of the land of Egypt. The exact same thing that was said at Mount Sinai. He's quoting. He's quoting it. You as the reader should be on high alert about this is awful. This is bad. It can't end well. He put one in the house of God, Bethel. That means the house of God. I mean, if you want to talk about arrogance, put it in the house of God. And the other in Dan. This caused Israel to sin. The people went to Bethel and Dan and worshiped the calves. He built temples on the high places. So he didn't just have high places set up where you could worship. Temples are now going on the high places. And appointed as priests, common people who were not Levites. So he doesn't even take Levites. He takes common people. Well, this isn't Solomon. This is north. This is Jeroboam. This is not Solomon's line. Okay? So no, so this is the 10 tribes in the north that were taken by Jeroboam, who was the enemy of Solomon. So this is not the bloodline. Appointed for the, again, high places, appointed priests, who were not from the Levites. Jeroboam inaugurated a festival on the 15th day of the 8th month, like the festival celebrated in Judah. Hey, we're doing this. We're gonna do a model of that. We're doing it better. Doing it better. Gonna do it better. Yeah, you lost the thread somewhere. No worries. No worries. Yeah, that's why I was trying to point out. If it's J comes before R. J's in the north. R's in the south. So that's how we keep track of that. On the altar in Bethel, he offered sacrifices to the calves he made in Bethel. He also appointed priests for the high places he made. So he is appointing priests everywhere, all the high places and the temples he's made. Dude, you done messed up, Aaron. God said, follow me like David. You're not. You're not. Should have known the advice was bogus when they said, hey, let's make some calves. Those worked before. On the 15th day of the 8th month, a date he had arbitrarily chosen, Jeroboam offered sacrifices on the altar he made in Bethel. He inaugurated a festival for the worship of Israelites and went up to the altar to offer sacrifices. Just then, a prophet arrived from Judah with the Lord's message for Bethel as Jeroboam was standing near the altar, ready to offer a sacrifice. He cried out against the altar with the Lord's message. Oh, altar, altar. What? He's crying out to altar, not to Jeroboam, to the altar. This is what the Lord has said. Look, a son named Josiah will be born to the Davidic dynasty. He will sacrifice on you, the priests of the high places you offer sacrifices on. Human bones will be burned on you. That day he had also given a sign saying, this is the sign that the Lord has declared. The altar will split open and the ashes on it will be poured out. When the king heard the prophet's message, okay, I lost my place. That he had cried out against the altar in Bethel, Jeroboam took his hand from the altar and pointed at saying, seize him. Then the hand that he had pointed at him stiffened up and he could not pull it back. Like your hand is stuck pointing. Meanwhile, the altar split open and the ashes poured from the altar. In fulfillment of the sign that the prophet had given with the Lord's message, the king responded to the prophets, seek the favor of the Lord your God and pray for me so that my hand may be restored. This sounds a whole lot like Pharaoh. Hey, I don't like this plague. Can you pray on my behalf and take it away? So the prophet sought the Lord's favor, and the king's hand was restored as it was at first. The king then said to the prophet, come home with me and have something to eat, so I may give you a gift. But the prophet said to the king, even if, you were to give me half your possessions, I would not go with you. I am not allowed to eat or drink water in this place. For this is how I was commanded in the Lord's message. Eat no food, drink no water, and do not return by the way you came. So we started back on another road. He did not travel back the same road he had taken to Bethel. I'm watching Proverbs 4, 5, and 10. I wonder if Solomon wrote this before or after God pronounced the judgment. I get wisdom, get insight. Do not forget. Get wisdom, get insight. Do not forget, and do not turn away from the words of my mouth. Do not forsake her, and she will keep you. Love her, and she will guard you. The beginning of wisdom is this. Get wisdom, and whatever you get insight. Prize her highly, and she will exalt you. She will honor you if you embrace her. She will place on your head a graceful garland. She will bestow on you a beautiful crown. Interesting question. I don't know that we have any way of knowing. I don't know if we have any way of knowing. We also, while Proverbs and other wisdom literature are attributed to someone, they could also be the one who's doing the collecting of it. Doesn't mean that every proverb specifically is written by Solomon. He would be the one attributed to collecting it. I know we usually just say Solomon wrote them all. That's just a simplified version. We also have in Psalms, we call them the Psalms of David, but then in the book itself, it does at times say these are from other people. So if you don't see that it's attributed to someone else, I think it's okay to attribute those to Solomon. If you don't see it's attributed to someone else instead of David, you can attribute them to David. We also talk about the books of Moses. But how does Moses write about his death? There are clearly things included in the books that aren't by the person that is the attributed author. I think another way to look at it would be, I'm trying to think of the word for it, the editor. There could be another editor on top of it that added other stuff and those things, but I'm all good with all those ways you look at it. But yeah, totally. If these are his actual thoughts, when did he write them? And also, when did he write Song of Solomon? Vanity, all things are vanity. Like, that might be at the end of his life when he's finally realized he'd done messed up at Aaron. I don't know. Good question. Okay, so this prophet is told, go and you can't eat anything. The king is inviting him to eat, and he's like, I can't eat or drink a thing. Why? This land is contaminated. The land is contaminated from the worship that you are doing. The land is not pure. It needs to be restored. It has to happen. I can't take anything from it. It will, we can think of it in that way, like the don't be contaminated by it. Now there was an old prophet living in Bethel. When his sons came home, they told him everything the prophet had done in Bethel that day. And they told their father all the words that had been spoken to the king. Their father asked them, which road did he take? His sons showed him the road the prophet from Judah had taken. He then told the sons, saddle the donkey for me. When they had saddled the donkey, wait, this sounds like Balaam, a prophet on a donkey. A prophet on a donkey. Anybody? When they had saddled the donkey for him, he mounted it, and he took off after the prophet, whom he found sitting under an oak tree. So he said to him, are you the prophet from Judah? He answered, yes, I am. He then said to him, come home with me and eat something. But he replied, I can't go back with you. I am not allowed to eat food or to drink water with you in this place. Does this language not sound like the Garden of Eden? Can you eat from the tree of the fruit of knowledge and good and evil? I cannot eat or drink anything in this place. I've been told. I mean, there's a whole lot of a repetition of this. It gives me a flavor of the Garden of Eden. I'm not allowed to eat food or drink in this place. For an order came to me from the Lord's message. Eat no food, drink no water there, and do not return by the way you came. So he repeats the fullness of the message. Then the old prophet, okay, what does the footnote say? They're just putting him in there to make sure we know which one. I too am a prophet like you, and an angel has told me in a message from the Lord, bring him back with you to your house so he can eat food and drink. But he had lied to him. So the prophet went back with him. He ate the food in his house and he drank the water. The motives of the action of the old prophet are difficult to understand. The old man's response to the prophet's death suggests he did not trick him with malicious intent. Perhaps the old prophet wanted to honor and entertaining such a celebrity, or perhaps simply desired some social interaction with a fellow prophet. Okay, so we don't know the motives. We just know he's deceitful. Okay, before we go on, I just struggle with if this person is a prophet and has a message, and another prophet who he might know is a genuine prophet, okay? Not he doesn't know. Let's just say he does know he's a prophet, and he comes and he tells you this. I'm thinking I inquire of God before I go with you. I don't know I'm trusting you, even if I know genuinely you are a prophet of God. Now, if it was Samuel telling me that, I got a real problem because I think I'm supposed to go with you because Samuel's telling me that. I don't know who this guy is. We don't know who he is. He's just called an old prophet. So, do you go? Do you stick to the thing you're not supposed to do? There's a deception here. And the following it is disobedience. That sounds a whole lot like being tricked by Satan in the garden. But here, it's someone who's tricking the prophet. Now, if this prophet truly did not have bad intent, and when he's told the truth about God, said to him, why does he say, can I just go with you then? I'll go with you back to Judah. Why doesn't he do that? Can I accompany you on the journey? Why doesn't he go in that direction? I don't know. I don't know. Let's keep going. While they were sitting at the table, the Lord's message came to the old prophet who brought him back. So he truly is a prophet. He doesn't lie. So he cried out to the prophet who had come from Judah. This is what the Lord has said. You have rebelled against the Lord's instruction and have not obeyed the command the Lord your God gave you. You went back. You ate food. And you drank water in this place, of which I said to you, eat no food, drink no water. Therefore your corpse will not be buried in your ancestral tomb. So this is what happened after he had eaten food and drunk water. The old prophet saddled the donkey for the prophet whom he had brought back. He's now giving him the donkey. So the prophet from Judah traveled on it. Then a lion attacked him on the road and killed him. Lion, symbol of the tribe of Judah. The lion attacks him on the road. Donkey, like I said, often not the symbol that we want. You got Saul looking for donkeys. You got several times where donkey is not a great symbol. Balaam. There was his body lying on the road with the donkey standing next to it and the lion just standing there by the body. So the lion is not eating the body and the donkey's not running in fear. Like, think about this for a minute. If you were to see this, there's a dead prophet of God. Maybe you don't know he's a prophet of God. Okay. I'll grant it that. But there's a dead body and a donkey whom he was riding and a lion whom killed the man, both just standing next to the body like nothing happened. Then some men came passing by and saw the body lying on the road with the lion standing next to the body. They went and reported what they had seen in the city where the old prophet lived. When the old prophet who had invited him to his home heard the news, he said, it is the prophet who rebelled against the Lord. The Lord delivered him over to the lion, and it tore him up, and it killed him, in keeping with the Lord's message that he had spoken to him. He told his sons, saddle my donkey. So he saddled it. He went and found the man lying in the road with the donkey and the lion standing beside it. The lion and the donkey have not left. Somebody has to come along. Somebody has to send word. He has to return here, wherever it is. This is some time. And the lion and the donkey just standing around, guarding the body. The lion had neither eaten the body nor attacked the donkey. The old prophet picked up the prophet's body, put it on his donkey, and brought it back. The old prophet then entered the city and mourned him to mourn him and bury him. He put the body in his own tomb, and they mourned over him, saying, ah, my brother. After he buried him, he said to his sons, when I die, bury me in the tomb where the prophet is buried. Put my bones right beside his bones, because the message that he announced as the Lord's message against the altar in Bethel and against all the temples on the high places in the cities of the north will certainly be fulfilled. This is a super weird story. But you're bringing a message as a prophet to declare to the people in the north who are sinning. You need to return from there in obedience, because the whole message is about disobedience. You can't be disobedient in taking the message of disobedience. That's why such a harsh response. After this happened, Jeroboam still did not change his evil ways. He continued to appoint common people as priests to the high places. Anyone who wanted a job, he consecrated as a priest. This sin caused Jeroboam's dynasty to come to an end and to be destroyed from the face of the earth. So he's just like, yeah, you want to be a priest? Yeah, you look good. Come on over here. Be a priest. Be a priest. You always wanted to be a priest? Yeah, be a priest. No family training, no on-the-job training, but yeah, you're good to go. You're good to go. Just jump right on in. Do whatever feels good. At the time, Jeroboam's son Abijah became sick. Jeroboam told his wife, disguise yourself so the people cannot recognize you as Jeroboam's wife. Then go to Shiloh. Ahijah the prophet, who told me I would rule over the nation, lives there. Okay, excuse me. Now that your son is sick, you're going to go have your wife inquire of a prophet. Why didn't you inquire of a prophet when you were worried about people worshiping in Jerusalem and leaving the kingdom? You should have done it then. You should have turned when the other prophet came and destroyed your altar, but you didn't do it then. What do you think, what is the message going to do that's going to cause you to turn? I can't think of nothing. Take 10 loaves of bread, some small cakes, and a container of honey and visit him. He will tell you what will happen to the boy. Jeroboam's wife did as she was told. She went to Shiloh and visited Ahijah. Now, Ahijah could not see. He had lost his eyesight in his old age. But the Lord had told Ahijah, look, Jeroboam's wife is coming to you. Find out from you what will happen to her son, for her son is sick. Tell her such and such. When she comes, she will be in disguise. When Ahijah heard the sound of her footsteps as she came through the door, he said, come on in, wife of Jeroboam. Why are you pretending to be somebody else? I've been commissioned to give you bad news. Go tell Jeroboam, this is what the Lord God of Israel has said. I raised you up from among the people and made you ruler over my people Israel. I tore the kingdom away from the Davidic dynasty and gave it to you. But you are not like my servant David, who kept my commands and followed me wholeheartedly by doing only what I approve. You've sinned more than all who came before you. You went and angered me by making other gods formed out of metal. You have completely disregarded me, so I am ready to bring disaster on the dynasty of Jeroboam. I will cut off every last male belonging to Jeroboam in Israel, including even the weak and incapacitated. I will burn up the dynasty of Jeroboam just as one burns manure until it's completely consumed. The dogs will eat the members of your family who die in the city, and the birds of the sky will eat the ones that die in the country. Indeed, the Lord has announced it. As for you, get up, go home. When you set foot in the city, the boy will die. So as soon as you enter the city, your boy dies. Do you enter the city or do you stay away? You'll never get to see your boy if you go in the city. All Israel will mourn him and bury him. He is the only one in Jeroboam's family who will receive a decent burial, for he is the only one in whom the Lord God of Israel found anything good. The Lord will raise up a king over Israel who will cut off Jeroboam's dynasty. It is ready to happen. The Lord will attack Israel, making it like a reed that sways in the water. He will remove Israel from the good land he gave to their ancestors and scatter them beyond the Euphrates, because he angered the Lord by making Asherah poles. He will hand Israel over to their enemies because of the sins which Jeroboam committed and which he made Israel commit. So Jeroboam's wife got up and went back to Tisra. As she crossed the threshold of the house, the boy died. All Israel buried him and mourned for him, in keeping with the Lord's message that he had spoken through his servant, the prophet Ahijah. I still think, I'm a parent, I get that news, I'm not going home. I'm going to stay outside the city. Hopefully my son gets better. He can live a long life. I just don't get to see him. I stay outside the city. Now, I know I'm bending the rules here, maybe, because maybe there's no way that happens. But he said, when I enter the city, the boy dies. So if I don't enter the city, can the boy live for a while? I'd try it, you know? Maybe she did, and they just didn't bother to tell us because that part wasn't important. The rest of the events of Jeroboam's reign, including the details of his battles and rule, are recorded in the scroll called the Annals of the Kings of Israel. So we had a book earlier about Solomon stuff. So here is the Annals of the Kings of Israel. Jeroboam ruled for 22 years. Then he passed away. His son Nadab replaced him as king. How long is Rehoboam's info here? Okay, not very far. We'll keep going. As a parent, that makes sense to me also. Yeah, wouldn't you try to do that? I mean, that just makes sense to me. I might try to do that just to, you know. Anyway. Like the one guy that, I can't remember if it was, anyway, one of the people that Solomon said, you can stay in your house or you can stay in the city, but you can't leave the city, or you'll be killed if you leave the city. And he leaves the city to chase down servants, and so he gets killed because of it. It's like, couldn't you just be obedient and you could have stayed alive? Like, let the people go. Oh, whoopsie-doo, send somebody else, whatever. You know, it's like, it seemed like a simple thing. So did, you know, staying, or going back without eating or drinking. That seemed like a simple thing. So we're having some stuff on disobedience showing us the severity of not following God. That's part of the point here. You don't get a pass just because of who you are. You're a prophet. You don't get a pass if you don't obey. Now Rehoboam, son of Solomon, ruled in Judah. He was 41 years old when he became king, and he ruled 17 years in Jerusalem. So less than Jeroboam. Less than Jeroboam. The city the Lord chose for all the tribes of Israel to be its home. His mother was an Ammonite woman named Naamah. Okay, so we do get his mom's name now. I wondered that earlier. She's an Ammonite. Do you think God meant he was going to knock off the bloodline with a certain person, or that some men would be born, but they would be impotent? Because I just thought about the fact that Jesus was born of the Davidic line from a woman, but God was the one who produced the seed. Okay, I don't know if I, you know, thinking of knocking off the bloodline, of doing it through lack of children, lack of biology, impotence or otherwise, of not having an heir. Usually, and we'll read it, is that all of the male children are killed off. And the reason it's the male children killed off is they're the ones who can sit on the throne. It's not that you couldn't have a descendant other ways. It's just like you've wiped out the household because the new. So, for instance, the Davidic line also is traced through Joseph, even though he's not biological. We trace Joseph to also be of the tribe of Judah. So, there's that aspect of it too, in regards to the. So one would be biological son through Mary. The other is legitimate legal heir through Joseph. So Joseph has claimed him as son. That makes him legal heir. So the legal standing is through Joseph. The biological standing would be through Mary. But I think we're just going to see, for instance, if we go back to Saul and Saul's descendants and David honoring him, we don't get mention of the daughters of Saul. We don't get mention of the daughters of Saul and anything to do with them. We get Mephibosheth, Jonathan's son, and his relatives and his heirs. So it's for those reasons, like because the ownership of the land also would have been passed down through the sons. Now it could be passed down through daughters where there wasn't any, and then it would go to their son, but you had to remain in the tribe in order to have that happen. If you married outside the tribe, you lost that. So, hope you're tracking all of that. But I've never had that thought of what if it was just through lack of children and lack of being able to conceive, whether through the men's problem or the women's problem. You know, no children, no descendants, wiping you out by infertility. So, I don't know. I love your questions at times, the things I've not thought of, which I am always intrigued by questions I've not thought of. Okay, Judah did evil in the Judah's the south. And also, if you want to remember north and south tribes, I comes before J. So I's in the north, J's in the south. Judah did evil in the sight of the Lord. They made him more jealous by their sins than their ancestors had done. They even built for themselves high places, sacred pillars and Asherah poles on every high hill and under every green tree. They were also male cultic prostitutes in the land. They committed the same horrible sins as the nations that the Lord had driven out from before the Israelites. So 34, the Old Greek translation has conspiracy rather than male cultic prostitutes. Okay, variant there, that's all. So, cultic prostitutes would be prostitutes that would be at the house of worship, that part of what you would do would be to go into the prostitutes as a form and act of worship and celebrating the gods. Now, they might be on only certain occasions, or there might be other ways. I don't know how these are functioning, but it's mentioned. And then there's a variant that says the Old Greek translation doesn't have this, it has something else. In King Rehoboam's 5th year, King Shishak of Egypt attacked Jerusalem. He took away the treasures of the Lord's temple and of the royal palace. He took away everything, including all the gold shields that Solomon had made. King Rehoboam had bronze shields to replace them and assign them to the officers at the royal guard who protected the entrance to the royal palace. Whenever the king visited the Lord's temple, the royal guard carried them and then brought them back to the guard room. So he's attacked by Shishak, who plunders and he replaces gold with bronze. The rest of the events of Rehoboam's reign, including his accomplishments, are recorded in the scroll called the Annals of the Kings of Judah. So we got another book introduced now. Rehoboam and Jeroboam were continually at war with each other. Rehoboam passed away and was buried with his ancestors in the city of David. His mother was an Ammonite named Naamah. his son Abijah replaced him as king. This is a different Abijah than the prophet Abijah. So it's also telling us that First Kings calls him Abijam rather than Abijah or Abijah. So a letter difference there, which happens from time to time. Okay, we're going to end there. We're going to call that it. We got through 14. I will probably, if I can find it, I have a chart of the kings of the northern tribes and the kings of the southern tribes, and a graph about how long their rules were. The interesting, fascinating thing to me is there are two illegitimate kings along the way. There are two women who are king, so to speak, cohort, mother of the king, whatever you want to call them, queens perhaps, that are there. One in the northern tribe, one in the southern tribe. They both have one. They also have exactly the same number of kings. They have exactly the same number of kings before they're taken off to captivity. The northern tribe just burns through them because they have wars, they have infighting, they have somebody establish themselves as king to be knocked off by the next guy. You have a Davidic dynasty in the southern kingdom, which means you're waiting for somebody's life to end, not by your own hands, to take over to be the next king. You just wait until the natural course of life happens and the next person in line steps up. In the north, you take power and you lose power. And in the south, you have a family dynasty. So I got a chart on that if I can find it and share with you. It's rather old. I made it like 25 years ago. It's still accurate, but I'd love to modify it in some ways. But the software that was used for creating it and all of that is long outdated, and so I've got a print copy that I'm able to use, or a PDF of it, or whatever. Just a snap. I can't make and adjust it, so I'd have to start over again to do that. So anyway, I will share that at some point down the road. So, have a great, and I saw your redeem for the raid. So we'll get that going here. Let me give you a blessing. May God's seeking comfort find you. May his loving arms bind you. May his might protect you. May his wisdom direct you. May the joyous love of Jesus Christ be with you and all those you know, both now and forevermore. Amen. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with me, being in God's Word. Just enjoy it so much, being with you. It is such a blessing to me. Your questions, your insights, your thoughts, the side conversations, those are all good as well. So let me just see. Who are we rating? Melanated. MC Wolfcat. Hey, friend, coming in. Oh, Trigger Boss, thank you. Appreciate that. So we'll get over with the raid. Good to see you, MC Wolfcat. Hey, thank you for the billies. Thank you for the biddies. Why is it? Oh. Duh. Credits, here we roll.
New pages, Chronicles, Gospels, Prophets, Sages, Leviticus, laws to Paul's fine phrases. Turning them corners, no spiritual mazes. Genesis to Revelation, silk divine, flipped in scripts, endless grace you'll find. Psalm singing sweet, unbroken lines, hitting that rhythm, wordplay refined. Anybody in here blessed? I'm blessed. Anybody in here blessed? I'm blessed. Bible in 1 year, we don't rest. Anybody in here blessed? Wake up early, the dawn's light shimmers. Spiritual breakfast, soul food dinners. Isaiah's vision, Ezekiel's figures. Walk through the fire, no one limbers. Kings and judges, prophets profound. Plow in the word, no mythical ground. Verse after verse, wisdom's bound. Heavenly soundtrack, soul's urban sound. Anybody in here blessed? I'm blessed. Anybody in here blessed? I'm blessed. Bible in 1 year, we don't rest. Anybody in here blessed? I'm blessed. No shortcuts, all divine routes. Listen to the whispers, no room for doubt. Parables drop stronger than gold faucets. Souls hydrated from divine prophets. Study the book, change perspectives. Carefully crafted, not too subjective. A year to reflect, learn and perfect patterns of